Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another edition of Get Off the Damn Fence. I am Larry Caution, joined as I am each and every week by co-hosts Calvin Thomas and Justin Harris. What's going on, gentlemen? How y'all doing tonight?
I feel like you was about to say something, brother Calvin.
No, I wasn't saying nothing. I was about to say what's up. I was
all right. What's
rolling
happening?
up my sleeves, getting ready.
Man, it's that week. It's that week. I mean, the air feel like it's changing. You feel that crispness out there. It's not the warmness is starting to dissipate. We starting to pull hoodies out. It's fall, baby. It's football season, and that's all that's on the docket tonight for the most part. We're gonna talk about some other stuff later on, but of course, we got to kick it off this week, opening week of the NFL season. We thank you all for tuning in. Get Off the Damn Fence here each and every Tuesday night. We appreciate the loyal viewers, and we want you to please share the live, spread the word. We're going to be here every Tuesday night. Also want to let you know that the LNC Lock Show will be coming back this season. Me and Calvin pick our, sports betting. We do that every season. We go head-to-head on the biggest matchups against the spread, and I take Calvin's money every year. So that's what we're going to be doing. That will be airing on Thursdays before each and every week of the NFL season. But this is the Get Off the Damn Fit show every Tuesday night with Justin Harris, Calvin, and myself, and we here to have a good time. So without further ado, we got a lot to cover tonight, fellas. I mean, this when you got NFL and soon to be basketball, and you got college football, you got baseball's going into the playoff season. It's never going to be a week where we don't have a lot to talk about. So ain't no need to waste no time. So this week I want to get us started just talking about the latest NFL news that's been happening. And one thing we do have to touch on before we touch on anything else, and that is a big signing that took place this week. And that's Brandon Aiyuk. That's right. Brandon Aiyuk signed his extension. He was a big talk of the NFL season over the summer, talking about will he get traded. There was deals that we heard about, some trade talks that maybe, got pulled at the last second. The Steelers were close to pulling off a trade to land him. We heard some rumors about the Cleveland Browns. We saw them try to clear up a little cap space to try to get him in there. So there's been a lot of conversation, but at the end of the day, the 49ers got the deal done, bringing Brandon Aiyuk back home. He never left, but those in. So now they're ready to start the season whole. And we're going to talk about what they signed, the other big important piece in a minute. Calvin, let me start with you. What's your thoughts on this signing, and do you think he was worth it?
He was worth it because their Super Bowl window is closing, if not closed. The cap situation that they're putting themselves in by just front loading all this money for Debo, Trent Williams, who we want to talk about, Aiyuk. You still got to just Kittle. You're still going to have to pay Purdy as well after this year because he doesn't have that fifth-year option. So they're really going to have to. And once you pay that quarterback, you can't sign everyone. We've seen that here with Lamar. Once you pay that quarterback big money, you got to trim the fat somewhere else. So this is the last probably 1 or 2 years they're going to have all these pieces together, still in their prime. They've been to 2 Super Bowls in the last 4 years, 5 years altogether. Haven't gotten over the hump yet. Been to the NFC Championship game another 1 or 2 times as well. They needed him to get back there. I don't think any trade, either bringing back Amari Cooper, bringing back I don't think they would have got McLaurin from DC, bringing back George Pickens. No one would replace Aiyuk's productivity in San Francisco. Don't care who it is. So you had to bring him back in order to keep this championship window alive.
100%. Justin, your thoughts other than Calvin having no neck and his screen all the way down?
Yo, that was set off screen, No, but I mean, this seems to be the way the 49ers do business. Debo kind of did it similar when it was his turn. He got paid. He had to threaten to sit out and all these things. So Brandon did the same exact thing. And when we continue with the future slides, we're going to talk about the next guy that did the exact same thing. So it seemed to be this is how they do. I don't know why they have to go to this length to do so. I mean, but with that being said, they did allow him to test the market. They did allow him to get his name out there and see what type of compensation they was going back for him and everything like that. And he had a say. Although people say, what leverage did he have? You don't sign someone and then not extend him and so on and so forth. So he actually had some type of leverage where as though I was going to sign him, I'm not going to sign. And I just think that he was just waiting personally for Washington to make the best decision or the best trade package for him, and he never really did. So I believe he really wanted to play with JD this year.
Yeah.
It didn't work out. So, I'm not going to go to a team that's not going to make the playoffs or a Super Bowl hopeful. So I think that was his whole thing. It was a ploy to try to get out to join him. And if they wasn't going to accept him, then he'd just go ahead on and go back home. And that's what he did.
Did you see the potential trade offers or the ones that were floated that I guess started to leak out there from like Cleveland? I saw Cleveland, New England, and Pittsburgh.
I saw the Pittsburgh.
Like our Pittsburgh wasn't going to pay him more than TJ Watt.
Yeah.
Which I think is like $28 million. I think the Patriots had the highest offer at $32 million annually. So that was what
Patriots had the highest offer, but you have to play for the Patriots.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then Cleveland had, I think it was Cleveland the same offer that he got from San Fran, but it was they were including a 2 and a I think they wanted a 1, but they only want to offer a 2 and a 3.
Yeah.
So
yeah. It is what it is. Do I think, and I said this last week, so I'm not going to rehash this whole discussion, but do I think he's worth this top receiver money that a lot of other receivers want right now? No. But 120, I think that's the market. What, $30 million a year? I mean, it is what it is.
You say he was top 6 last week?
Yeah. I mean, he in there. He's going to get passed very soon, so the market dictated this move. Let's move on to another move that the 49ers made this week, and I think it's the most important move thus far, and that's making sure they bring back the big fella, Trent Williams. They signed him to an extension. Now, offensive line money, to me, offensive line money is so egregiously different from some of these other skill positions when we know that position is probably the most important position on the team other than the quarterback. So it's still kind of head scratching that he got 3 years, 62. But the guys are if he's not the MVP of that team, I don't know who is. Big time player, and when he's missing, Brock Purdy looked completely different last season. Any other quarterback they've had over the last several years look completely different. Excuse me, that's 82. I just think that this had to be done. We heard the 49ers had like $50 million in cap space, so they had the money. It was just how much were they going to pay? Shout out to John Lynch for getting it done. Justin, let's start with you. What did you think of making sure they bring the big fella home?
Well, he's such a presence, what I'm saying? He got one of those, like he remind me of big for y'all J.O., right? Yeah. Like, smile, big, just you look towards him and it's like, yo, I'm gonna be all right quarterback in this thing. And that's what they needed. Clearly his presence was missed last year in the few games he did was when he was out. Brock Purdy looked like a shell of himself. And they might hold that against him this upcoming season because it's his time as well coming up very shortly to get paid, and he didn't necessarily get money from the first round for just being a draft pick. So was he the last one? That's neither here nor there. So with that being said, they had to bring in the big fella, and I'm glad they did. Shout out to the Hall of Famer John Lynch, like you said, for getting it done. But there was no debate here. I think the whole thing was Brandon Ayuk was pretty much holding up everything. He knew that they was going to get paid. Trent knew he was going to get paid. It was just a matter of when. And definitely, I think Brandon's situation is done. And then, needless to say, right after that, only a few hours after that, Trent get his money. And when you see the press conference with that big smile he had on his face, remind me of Tristan Wirth when he got his his money this past off.
Big Jolly John.
So some guys just pay him, man. And he's one of those guys.
Yeah. I mean, this makes me think that this deal was done, 2 weeks ago. Just like, let's get Brandon Ayuk done. This is what we're going to do for you. Because it was simple. It was a restructure. There's no new money. They just guaranteed him part of the money they was already owed for the next 3 years. So it seemed like it was an easy deal to get done. It was just a matter of getting Ayuk done first and getting Trent Williams. And he's a vet. He doesn't need training camp. He's going to come in ready, and they know they need him on their left side protecting Brock Purdy's blind side. So I think this was an easy deal to get done, and it's right in time for the beginning of the regular season because they play Monday? They play Monday night, right?
Against the Jets. Mm-hmm.
So both of them should be ready.
Do you know how old he is?
He's what, 35, 36?
Yeah,
Yeah,
this is
so
prime.
that's pretty much probably why he was
Just
like,
it.
"Yo, give
Oh,
me my money
Yeah.
now."
Yeah.
Like,
But he said
I might not be here for the next 3 years.
Mhm.
but they say he had 3 years left, but it was no guaranteed money. So basically, he had to play, make the roster in order to get paid. So this guarantees about what, half that deal remaining.
Mhm.
So
All right,
he's the
good.
highest paid tackle this year.
Nobody could root against a guy like that. So shout out to him for getting that deal, getting it done. Let's get into the meat of this thing, because this subject that we're going to be talking about here is something that has kind of been batted around different circles over the past few weeks. I have not been keeping up with any sports talk, any of the conversations that have been happening online. But one thing I do want to definitely touch on is this conversation about which quarterback has the most pressure on them heading into this season. Who has to get it done? A Super Bowl or bust. Basically, a lot of these quarterbacks on this slide, they've gotten their money. We got Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. Dak is looking to get paid. Aaron Rodgers, he bet on himself. He wanted out of Green Bay. He wanted to get to New York. He thought they built the team just for him. You got Deshaun Watson, who signed the highest, the most expensive quarterback deal, guaranteed money from the Cleveland Browns. So they stocked the whole franchise into him. Tua Tagovailoa, who got paid this offseason, who really a lot of people have doubted him continuously. Then you got Joe Burrow, the guy that everybody has crowned as the next big thing, but injuries have kept on derailing him. He got to his Super Bowl, he lost, but he got there, so he's gotten a lot of credit for that. And then you got Russell Wilson, who many might say doesn't belong on this slot, but he's getting a last chance. He has a quarterback breathing down his neck in Pittsburgh is maybe liable to take his slot. And if Russ loses this job, the odds of him getting another are very slim. So there's a lot of different circumstances. Some of these are, we got a couple two-time MVPs on this slot. We got a couple guys who should have gotten an MVP who hasn't got over the mountain. You got some people who have failed in the playoffs time at the time. But one thing is true. None of these people are Patrick Mahomes. So question, and I'm going to start with you, Calvin. Of these quarterbacks here listed, which one has the most pressure to win a Super Bowl this season?
I think it's an easy answer. It's the two-time MVP and number 1 seed overall last year, Lamar Jackson. This is the quarterback that's, like I said, he's been a unanimous MVP. He's been a two-time MVP. He's had the number 1 seed twice and has yet to make it to a Super Bowl. Everyone else on this picture, Russell Wilson's won a Super Bowl. Aaron Rodgers won a Super Bowl. Burrow has been to the Super Bowl. I don't think the expectations for Dak or Deshaun Watson or even Tua are as high as they are for Lamar Jackson. He is the one that they talk about choking perennially in the playoffs, no matter what he does in the regular season. He is the one they said he can't beat Patrick Mahomes in the postseason. He is the one that they said that every postseason he does not show up. This is what we've heard about the last 2 weeks leading to the regular season. The pressure is on Lamar Jackson to not get it done in the regular season, but get it done in the playoffs. Regardless of what happens in the regular season, going 17-0, winning another MVP, it does nothing if he does not do it in the playoffs. It's Lamar Jackson is easy.
Hey, man, I'm proud of you. I'm very proud of you. Justin, your thoughts?
You say pressure to win a Super Bowl, and we just excluded Patrick Mahomes.
This year.
Yes, this year. I believe Patrick should be on this list as well. I know that's a far-fetched thing to say, but he is playing for basically football immortality as well for himself. He is trying to get a three-peat. He is trying to extend himself away from Brady to be a three-peater when Brady hasn't done that. So with that being said, I would like to nominate him as in the most pressure in order to win. Because, like I said, it's he's playing for himself. He's playing against himself. And yes, you can make a case for every last one of these guys, except for Russell Wilson. Every last one of these guys, you can make a case for. But I would like to think that Patrick has that type of pressure for himself in order to win.
I love your way of thinking. Don't get me wrong. I love that. But give me one from this list.
Okay, I'm gonna give you one from this list. I want to say Aaron, but like I said, I just think he's in the twilight of his career, so I'm not going to put that kind of pressure for him. So I'm going to go to Tua, actually. Why? Because how many times are you going to have Tyreek Hill as your wide receiver, Jalen Waddle as an emerging number one himself, the backfield that they have with A-Chain and Mustard and whoever else they picked up in the draft and right. You literally have everything tailor-made and for you to win. You just have to make the plays in order to do so. There are no more excuses. Y'all got destroyed by Kansas City last year in the playoffs. At least everybody else put forth some type of effort, like, let's say, Lamar Jackson. He was within a touchdown or so of beating him. He should have won that game. So I'm not going to put all the pressure on Lamar. You the one that didn't show up. You the one that looked like crap in the last game of the season. So I'm going towards Tua and his early throw in order for him to be better in the postseason. And it's honestly, I don't know. I'm not gonna say now or never because he's still a younger player. But at the end of the day, these windows close.
Yeah,
they close very fast. As Aaron Rodgers, he never went back since 2009. So we can't just say that he's young enough to make another trip if he even makes his first trip. So when will that time come? You're not going to have the weapons like you had this year. Tua.
The disrespect
I got something to add
towards Tua is just absolutely pathetic, in my opinion.
The
guy had 1 year with Tyreek, and he put up great numbers. He was sensational. Like, give the man credit. It was last year.
Tyreek been in 2 years.
Okay, he was hurt 1 year. 1 full year of being healthy as a quarterback, and he put up sensational numbers. And when he was healthy the year before, had he not got hurt and Ryan Fitzpatrick had to come in there, then who knows what the sky was the limit. Now, you say they ended badly, but I can name several quarterbacks on this list who ended pretty badly in the playoffs. But I'm going to say the guy with the most pressure is the guy that the team stock, they staked the whole franchise to go get paid the most guaranteed money in the history of the NFL, and that's Deshaun Watson.
Deshaun Scheme 101? No, not him.
That defense is loaded. Receivers, what don't they have? What position don't they have a big-time player at? Now, you can say Bradley Chubb got hurt, but they didn't pay him because they got Nick Chubb.
Nick Chubb.
Yeah, okay. They didn't pay him because Nick Chubb is there. They paid him because they feel like he was the final missing piece. They got rid of Baker Mayfield to bring him in. They staked the whole franchise on this guy, and we just gonna keep letting them skate by. We just gonna say, oh, no pressures on Deshaun. But I still think the answer is Lamar, of course. But if I had to pick a second guy, it's Deshaun before I get to Tua. If anything, Tua's maybe 5th or 6th on this list. Josh Allen, the guy everybody's crowned, who I think is a phenomenal talent.
He got no weapons.
Whose fault is that?
That doesn't matter.
Whose fault is that?
I'm just saying.
He's a
I'm
going to
like we said
that had weapons first over him.
Like we said, we saw Patrick Mahomes win with no weapons. We saw Lamar win with no weapons. That can't be.
They ain't win no Super Bowl. We talking about Super Bowl. We ain't talking about win a playoff game. We talking about win a Super Bowl. And then Dak Prescott. We're just gonna forget that Dak Prescott is still here. It's like he just absolved. And he's looking for a new contract. What do you mean they don't have no expectation? They got CD.
I put it like this. If you this is a completely different question. I don't think Dak's gonna be there next year. There's no pressure on Dak right now except to go and play well and get a deal next year for $60 million. Specifically right now, in my opinion.
Super Bowl bust for Dak.
And then going back to my Tua point, and I'm not even going to talk bad about Tua. This is going to be a positive affirmation about Tua. So we know how they're like 6 and 18 in cold weather games, something like that. Next year, and health and the whole year is a big thing. Is something that we have to take into account. Next year they play the AFC South and NFC South. So that's warm weather teams and domes. Next year is the year, in my opinion, barring something crazy, that's their year. Kind of like Jared Goff this year with the schedule. They're like 15 of their games are in the dome, something like that. That's their year for Miami, in my opinion, just scheduling wise, talent wise, to another year, all that stuff. But this year is no question. It's Lamar, easy in my opinion.
Okay, I'm struggling with this Tua thing because I mean this what Like what? Why the injuries that racked up last year? Tyreek getting hurt down the stretch. Now, if everybody's healthy this year, I picked them to go to the Super Bowl. I did, but like, are we going to just act like he in year 3 of this offense? He needs to win the Super Bowl over Lamar Jackson. That's what you're saying, Justin?
You didn't say Lamar Jackson. You said Deshaun
But I
Watson.
said number one is Lamar.
Who
I tried
also
to
got hurt.
Calvin made every point I needed to make. That's why I didn't want to regurgitate
So
the
you
same
said
argument.
Deshaun as your nominee because Lamar was taken, and Deshaun got hurt last year. So what are you saying? You can't bring up injuries when a person that you nominated got hurt too.
But Tua wasn't hurt last year. He played phenomenal.
Why would we expect?
You were talking about injuries when it came to the Miami Dolphins. When I'm saying the person that you nominated was Deshaun Watson, and he himself got hurt.
So we saw Joe Flacco come in there and get work done with his team.
That's my point. Without Nick Chubb, matter add.
So why are we paying you all this money if Joe Flacco can give me the same productivity? I don't get it. So I'm just saying, I think it's a lot of pressure on this guy. He got that guaranteed contract ruined a lot of GMs are pissed that Cleveland would give somebody that kind of money. And then you go out there and not live up to it, you might ruin the chances for a quarterback to get that type of money. Has anybody signed a fully guaranteed contract since? No.
That's why they're not pissed.
That's why they're not pissed.
Well, I'm just saying, the player union should be pissed. The players should be pissed. Had he lived up to the contract, that might have set the standard for everybody else to be like, we want that type of money.
I think
like Lamar Jackson would have held to his guns.
Yeah, I think it's the other way around.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah, it's the other way around. It's the other way around, in my opinion. When Deshaun got that contract, you look at the quarterbacks that signed after him that are better than him, and it's 3 of them on this page on Lamar,
they
Josh,
couldn't
and
get
Joe
the
Burrow.
money.
They should have taken a step further and gotten fully guaranteed contracts. Kirk Cousins did this 4 or 5 years ago with Minnesota when he was signing those short. It was still fully guaranteed. So, in my opinion, Lamar, Josh, and Joe Burrow did not take that next step after Deshaun. Now, be it as though was it collusion?
Yeah, of course it was.
We know that, but they didn't take that next step after Deshaun. So Deshaun laid the groundwork. But every one of those 3 quarterbacks, Dak, Tua, are better than Deshaun, at least the last couple of years. And they've all signed after him. So they should have signed fully guaranteed contracts as well. So Deshaun should have been the first stepping stone to get there.
No, I blame Deshaun for not living up to the contract. So the rest of the teams had trepidation to give him the contracts again.
You can't blame him and then say it's collusion the same way. You can't blame.
We know you don't have much to stand on when you say, "Oh, so he got hurt." Kirk Cousins kind of like held up his end. He didn't get hurt until his last year of his contract.
So you just said Kirk Cousins signed a deal. It was short term. He didn't get hurt, right? So he lived up to it. Deshaun came out and said the whole thing, multiple years guaranteed. It was supposed to be the next person to say, if he got it, I get it. Period.
They couldn't do it. Patrick Mahomes signed that 10 for what, 500?
500.
So that
and he
didn't need
to get more money. That's
of
not
course.
even.
But that was like the next big guy that was up, Patrick Mahomes, and they wasn't going to replicate that deal. That was like a once and only deal. I still don't understand.
It's only once and only if you allow it to be.
Man, it sounds easy. It's easier said than done. And many say that's the reason why they couldn't re-sign Tyreek because of that deal. So it's a catch-22 to anything you do. But Deshaun, my point is, they signed him that huge deal. You stake the franchise. You get rid of Baker Mayfield. He got a lot of pressure on him. I'm sorry. And the fans in Cleveland are starting to grumble. That's all I'm saying. They starting to grumble. Anyway, I thought it's going to be interesting tracking this as the year go on, but we got to get into week 1 of the NFL season. This Thursday night, big game, especially for us here in Baltimore, a rematch of the AFC Championship game. Man, this is, week 1 really is a litmus test for certain things. Now, to me, I don't put a lot of stock into it because a lot of these players didn't play in the preseason. You got some injuries, so you're trying to work out some wrinkles. Your first time seeing maybe some new additions to your offense, new additions to your defense. So what you look like in week 1 will pale in comparison to what you look like heading into the playoffs if you're fortunate enough to get there. So I don't put a lot of stock into it. But when you look at the schedule and you look at the Ravens' first 4 games of the season, as we talked about a few weeks ago, getting off to a fast start, getting a win in Kansas City could really help you down the road, especially when you talk about playoff seating. These are two AFC opponents. Big game in Kansas City. The Chiefs have been experiencing a lot of injuries here lately. They will be without Hollywood Brown. They add new receivers to the receiving core, implementing new rookies and young players into the starting lineup. We know that Chiefs defense is for real. We know the Ravens offense still has some question marks on the offensive line. I think this matchup is not favorable for the Ravens, especially coming off of, an offseason where they didn't make any significant upgrades to the offensive line. I think bringing in Derrick Henry will be interesting to see what the game plan is. Will they run the ball and keep giving him a steady diet of Derrick Henry and possibly keep Patrick Mahomes on the sideline by controlling the clock? Will Lamar be more active with his legs heading into this season, or will he try to be a drop back passer? Mark Andrews, we know he was in a car accident a few weeks ago. Is he fully healthy? Is he ready to roll? Will they implement the two tight end system with Isaiah Likely, get him more involved in the offense early? Going to be a lot to see, a lot to discover. How will the new defensive coordinator implement a game plan against Patrick Mahomes and Zach Orr? I'm very interested in this matchup. So I'm going to start with you, Justin, because I'm going to let Calvin come in a little later. What is your thoughts on this matchup? Now, you said earlier Patrick Mahomes got a lot of pressure on him because he's looking to three-peat this season. Do you see them coming out fast and hot first game of the season?
Well, let me say this before we get to that. Like, I think Lamar's fallen for the media trap that they set for him. And what that trap is calling it a revenge game. I am vehemently opposed of calling it a revenge game because it makes it seem like he can't beat Patrick Mahomes. He has a victory or two, if I'm not mistaken, over Patrick. So it's not like you never did it. And he beat him before. So it's not like he's never did it. So for him to say that it's a revenge game, no, we're not judging you from that. We only judging you from the postseason. So don't fall like you have to do everything. And him being who he is, he's a Superman on the field. I don't want him to do and play extra outside of the scheme of the game. That's why he got in trouble last time. I think he was trying to do too much, as in trying to pass way more than what you should have done, so on and so forth. So Lamar, for everybody's sake, just for fans of Baltimore, don't fall for it. But you told the media that it was kind of like a revenge game. Don't do that. Just say Patrick would never have said it was a revenge game if he lost. He wouldn't have said it. He would just say this is another game in the season, so on and so. It just happened to be the first game. One of those kind of answers, one of those Brady-like answers. So with that being said, hopefully he doesn't do that. But I'm still going with the Chiefs because I think Patrick will be on some kind of a mission. He's not going to have the best record coming out of this whole season, but I think he wants to put the league on notice, saying last year was quote unquote your time to get me, and you still didn't do it. So and then to change your whole offense, to implement someone like a Derrick Henry. I know you guys are very critical of the first couple games of the season, but you got to let this thing play out when it comes to a dynamic like Derrick Henry to mix in with a superstar in Lamar Jackson. This thing might take a few games or whatever the case would be. I know that you're pressing, like I know that you gotta win games when they're there, but you got to let that thing marinate a little bit more. And Kansas City is a little bit more ready coming out the gate. So I expect Baltimore to maybe struggle a little bit, but I think Kansas City will be firing on most of all their cylinders there. And you still got people like Chris Jones to worry about defensively. So I'm definitely going for Patrick Mahomes to make a statement for the league.
Calvin, your thoughts on this match?
Yeah, so I disagree with you. I don't think there's any pressure, there's any need to show anything on Kansas City's behalf. This same team won Super Bowl 2 years ago and then lost last season opened as well, and then went on to win the Super Bowl as the 3 seed. I don't think they put too much into this game because they've beaten the Ravens 4 out of the last 5 times in the Lamar Jackson era. So I don't think Kansas City really, they want to win the game, but I don't think if they lose it, they're not gonna jump off a bridge or get too upset or too down on themselves. I think this is I don't want to say a must-win game for the Ravens, but they need the confidence to say that they can compete with these guys because they haven't beat them in the last 2 times, and they haven't beat them in Arrowhead. And it's ring night, so those fans will going to be excited and ready to just cheer on their team as well. I think the Ravens are going to come in more focused. I don't know if I think they'll have the bigger learning curve because of a new defense, because of a new offensive line, because of a new running back, trying to try to get him adjusted to the offense as well. So I think the pressure is not on Kansas City, but I think the Ravens really want to win this matchup. They're saying all the right things in public. A win on Thursday doesn't change what happened in January. It's not a must-win game for us. This is just game 1 of regular season. They're saying all the right things, but do you actually believe that? I think they want to beat this team, and I don't think they want to beat them just to say that they beat them, but they just want to put in their heads, hey, we can beat you, and we beat you at home. So we could beat you at home. We could also beat you on the road as well. So I think this game for the Ravens is bigger than they're leading on. And for the Chiefs, like I said, they lost game 1 last year, and they went on to win the Super Bowl. I don't think they care as much. They just know if we get to the playoffs healthy, we're going to win, and that's all they care about right now. I think that's what they're trying to get to the playoffs healthy. We know the mission Hollywood Brown. He's a new Parkhurst Brown. I'm sorry. He's a new receiver on their behalf, and he's just trying to get acclimated to that offense. So they just want to get him healthy, get him acclimated, and just get ready for the playoffs. I don't think there's nothing that Kansas City is looking at this game that says if we lose, all of a sudden we're down and out. We gotta change this or change that on the fly. I don't think, just based off what happened last year, if they lose this game, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm picking the Ravens, but if they lose this game, it's business as usual on Friday morning for them. The pressure is all on Baltimore because, be it or not, they need the confidence to say that we can beat them. You've gotten past the divisional round, you got to the AFC Championship game, and now you can't beat Patrick Mahomes. I'll say the same thing a couple weeks when Josh Allen comes to town because you only beat him once the last 4 times. So I'm not looking at this. I'm looking at this completely different than what's
okay.
Than what's
Justin, you clearly have something you want to say.
Because the way he's presenting it is just okay. So you mean to tell me if I'm a player, if I'm Lamar Jackson and I lose this game, it's gonna be doom and gloom? Like, oh my God, we can never beat these guys.
I didn't
That's
say
basically
that.
that's how you presented it.
I'm not saying it's doom and gloom for either team.
No, I have a whole different team. I added another superstar. I have to make things work with him. Like if they go on a 5-game winning streak to end the regular season, and Kansas City's is the first game in the playoffs, you think they're gonna be thinking about game 1 of week 1? Well, a whole different team.
About AFC Championship game last year.
It doesn't matter. That's all I'm saying. Like
what I'm saying, I'm saying a win cannot. I agree. Win cannot replace what happened on January 26th. I completely agree with that. But can a win put distance in between that? Can a win put distance between January 26th and January 8th of next year? Yes. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. If this was any other team, it wouldn't matter. Because it's Kansas City, because it's the team that you have to get through to get to the Super Bowl, then it matters. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I think that it's just, if you look at that Kansas City offense right now, you got Mahomes, you got Kelsey, you got Pacheco. But honestly, can you name everybody else that you really got to worry about? Be honest. Be honest. Who
they got Rashee Rice? The whole suspension thing is bullshit. I'll just say it like that.
He ain't suspended.
Yeah, correct. But I don't see how you want to make a decision week 4 and then suspend him for 3 or 4 games. That's bullshit in my opinion. Like, come on.
Okay, but who else you got?
They got I was going to say the Ricky McKinney, but that's not his last name. But
no, his name is
Xavier Worthy.
Yeah,
and you have to be mindful if you play him like he's just a regular rookie, more likely than not, he's going to
beat you over the top.
Correct.
Beat you over the top.
Or as accurate as Patrick is, you got to be worried about slants. You got to be worried about everything if you don't put the pressure on
him.
My point is,
like, and it's still Patrick, so you have to be worried about whoever he throws the ball. Juju can come in and score if he's playing.
He's been there, so he knows the system.
You just got to be worried.
I think that the pressure is on the Ravens. I think the Chiefs really going to be trying to figure out what they have. They got to Sky Moore, like I said, some of these young receivers that Patrick's going to be get some chemistry with. But the last 2 seasons, he hasn't gotten chemistry with his offense until late in the season and deep into the playoffs, actually. They've struggled early in seasons the last 2 years, and I think this is going to be no different. So to say that they're just going to come out guns a-blazing, if that happens, the Ravens have a lot more to be worried about than we're thinking about on defense, because if that Chiefs offense comes out, again, if you go back to the playoff game, it's not like they put up 30 points. The game was within reach, and our offense couldn't score. What you got to worry about is that Chiefs defense. The Chiefs defense is one of the best defenses in the league, and the Ravens offense has to show up. I have always said they play better on the road because there's less pressure on them. They play worse at home because they turn into choke artists, because the crowd starts murmuring, they start booing a little bit, they start getting restless, and then the pressure gets turned up. Then the Ravens start to press. I think they'll play better on the road. I think they'll play like more free. My only thing is it's the first game of the season, and I don't know exactly who's healthy, who's ready, how deep, how intricate is the offense going to be. Hopefully they pull out some wrinkles, but I would like to see them pound the ball. I don't care what anybody say. This team needs to go back to our old style of 3 tight ends, run the football, use your fullback, strength the field. You only got 2 or 3 good receivers anyway. I mean, Bateman and Zay, that's all you need. And go tight ends, baby, and get the job done. And let Derrick Henry get warmed up. He's not the type of guy that's going to beat you with 1 or 2 runs. He has to get 25 carries. Go ahead.
Well, I think 25 carries is a little bit too much. But to your point, you're right. Like that's the most important thing for me, especially if you're looking at it from the Ravens' point of view. Establish who you are. Period. Win or lose. Yes, you want to win a game, of course. Even if you lose, understand you're going to have to deal with a number 1 rushing attack for the league. Period. So all 4 quarters you need to strap up, because that's how we're playing this whole entire season. Don't worry about the Lamar antics and things like that. Don't worry. Don't think I'm going to throw the ball 30, 40. I'm not going to do that. 20 to 25 attempts and 15 to 23 for Derrick Henry rushing attempts, and then we're going to see where we're at. I just think 25 was too much for game 1.
25 rushes.
I get it.
Create an identity where the opposing defenses for the
I
next
agree.
game,
I agree with the identity part.
Oh, that's what we got to stop. Then you start throwing in your wrinkles. Then you start surprising them with other plays. Like, don't come out there just guns a blazing. Like, that's the problem. This is not 2019 against the Dolphins. You know what I mean? Like, don't think that every game is going to be sunshine and roses. You got to pound these guys, and that's the problem. Why did we lose in the playoffs last year? We got away from our identity, and that's what they have to do. So this is a big matchup from a marquee perspective. The league is going to be watching. Fans all over the world going to be watching. But I still think at the end of the day, it's game 1. You can't put all your stock into it. You have to learn something from it. Hopefully you come out with no injuries, get some guys back. I just want to see what this offensive line does, man, because I'm worried, man. I am worried. And you got to get a pass rush on Patrick Mahomes. You have to. And we have not talked about this, Calvin. Who is your pass rusher? Tell me.
You rely on a Jabo and Owe. I mean, I don't think Van Noy is every down or I think he just sets the edge. Hopefully you get some pressure from Matabike.
They better be blitzing.
They really did not replace Clowney.
That's the blitz.
And this is the problem. Everyone talks about Patrick Queen and Geno. You lose a linebacker and a safety, but you still got the better of the 2 still on your team. I don't care about losing that.
I think they need to send all them corners. And that rookie looked good.
Yeah, I mean, and they wouldn't look good. Now, one thing that we haven't talked about is, they lost L'Jarius Sneed as well. So the pass should be a little bit more susceptible. And now you have a Nate Wiggins, you have a third cornerback, and you have Kyle Hamilton, who's probably going to be lined up against Kelsey most of the day. So now
how'd that work out in the playoffs?
Okay, now let me say the touchdown pass, that was a perfect pass. I have no gripes over how Kyle Hamilton played in that playoff game. None. You throw a perfect pass and get a perfect reception.
Kelsey looked dominant early on, though. I think he was.
I mean, I think they got in their heads with the whole Tucker thing to start off with as well, and they tried to retaliate during the game as well, and they caught a couple penalties that cost them 15 yards as well. And the Chiefs knew how to play the game, and they were new to the game at that point.
And Zay's not a rookie no more. Can't make dumb mistakes either. So we're going to be saying coaching will matter in this game as well. The coaches are not off the hook.
Look, that unsportsmanlike still stings because I
Don't do
think
dumb stuff.
he did the same thing Travis Kelce did. I'll say that he did the same thing Kelce did.
Don't do dumb stuff.
And that you like if you're on what was he on, like the 4 to 5 instead of the 15, and all of a sudden it leads to that fumble. Well, no, the fumble was later on in the game, but if you score on that drive,
yeah,
instead of taking that field goal.
You're right. Let's move on to some other matchups for this coming week up. This Friday game we got it's very interesting. The NFL is going to be expanding this season, moving some games to Fridays a couple times.
What did that say?
Sao Paulo.
Oh, what that mean?
Brazil. Huh?
I mean, in Brazil.
That is in Brazil. Sao Paulo, Brazil. That's where the game will be taking place. On Friday, the NFL will have an international game. The Green Bay Packers and the Philadelphia Eagles. Two teams that a lot of people have some high hopes for this season. I know there are a lot of Jordan Love fans out there thinking one guy even on this very panel picked him to be an MVP candidate. Calvin, let's start with you. Man, how do you see this one going down?
I like Philly in this matchup. I like Philly. I think they're just going to be dominant on both sides of the ball. Hurts, Saquon, they got too many weapons. I do expect it to be a rather high-scoring game. I'm not sure if this is similar to is it Mexico City where they talk about how the altitude would affect the game. I'm not sure if it's similar to that. But yeah, I got Philly in this matchup. I just think early on, we still have to Jordan Love still has to show that he's the guy that we saw the last 8 to 10 games of the season. And Philadelphia is probably going to be the second best defense he played outside San Francisco, and they could have easily won that matchup in the playoffs. So I think they're going to encounter some bumps in the road early. But I like Philadelphia in this matchup.
Justin, what's your thoughts on this matchup?
Who's the home team? Is it Philly?
Technically, it's Philly, yeah.
Okay.
I like Jordan Love to play a well-balanced game. I expect Josh Jacobs to get his fair share of work, both through the passing game and, of course, rushing. But this is all Eagles for me. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I'm actually concerned off the field more so on the field. Darius Slade recently just came out and said that, he told his family to stay home. All he's going to do is just stay in the hotel and play the game and then go practice and then play the actual football game. Mm-hmm. Because there's so much crime and things like that, so much violence going on in Brazil right now. The NFL is strongly urging everyone.
They were talking about moving the game at one point.
Mm-hmm. So I think that kind of distraction, I don't know who's the more I would assume that Philadelphia is the more mentally strong team, mentally tough team in this ball. But we saw what happened last year when they pretty much someone put a flat in their on their wheels, and they lost the way they lost towards the end of the season. So that tells you that they might not be as mentally tough as you would think going from the Super Bowl to where we at now. So it's basically what team deals with those kind of elements better. And like I said, this is different because we've seen COVID, right? We've seen when people were restricted and things like that. Not everyone played the way they were supposed to play. You had people that played better. We had people that played off because it was just a different environment for them. And this is something similar towards that. Yes, the threat of COVID is not there. But like I said, they don't really want to be there. They can't go out and see the city of the country of Brazil like they want to, so on and so forth. So it's who's mentally tougher. And I would assume that it's Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, AJ Brown, and the rest of them boys. That's the main reason why I'm going for Philadelphia.
Yeah, I like the angle you took. That's very interesting. But I like to talk on the field. I really am interested in how the Eagles implement Saquon into this offense, combine that with that passing game, with those dynamic receivers. This could be a preview of what to see later because a lot of people have high hopes for Green Bay. I think the injury to AJ Dillon is big, is huge. I think that will really take a toll on what the high hopes for that offense. Jordan Love is going to have to add a football out. He has some good receivers. Romeo Dobbs is like a good possession receivers, but they have some high hopes for Christian Watson. I'm very interested to see, how that running game is able to click again without A.J. Dillon. They had an opportunity they could possibly have retained Aaron Jones, but they decided to let him go in the offseason. He's in Minnesota now. Do they go out and try to pick somebody else up to fill that void? But right now, I think that they're going to be going into this game a little shorthanded, and the Eagles are just loaded on both sides of the football. I like Philly in this matchup, but again, I'll be very interested to see airing the football out. What will Jordan Love look like when the other team knows that he doesn't have that option to have that two-head monster like they had last season when he was pretty successful in that offense? Let's move on. Another game this Sunday. We get into the main docket. And Pittsburgh Steelers travel to Atlanta to take on the Falcons. Now, I find it very interesting. A lot of people are kind of leaning towards Atlanta now. We don't know who's going to be the starting quarterback long term because Kirk Cousins, coming to the season with the injury. But they did go out in the offseason and draft a high-profile rookie. A lot of people thought, why would you sign Kirk Cousins to a big contract and then go use a draft pick on someone who could possibly be the future of your franchise? Calvin, how you see this matchup going down?
I guess this is one of the lowest scoring matchups of the day, but look, as much as I talk about Kirk Cousins.
Wait. When you say lowest scoring, collectively?
Collectively, yeah.
Okay.
Collectively,
interesting.
Yeah. I don't trust Russell Wilson. I don't know if he's able to push the ball down the field, able to stretch this defense. Najee Harris has been so up and down in his career. I feel like Jalen Warren could just take this job at any point. And that may be what happens this year with Russell Wilson checking the ball down so much until they go to Justin Fields. But I like Atlanta's matchup. I don't know what Pittsburgh can do on offense. Now, this Atlanta offense is completely new at the helm of Kirk Cousins, but they still have Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson. They still should be able to move the ball, especially with a better quarterback. And that Pittsburgh defense is going to be pretty good, I think, but they don't have the offense to match. And I think it'll be even in the dome not the dome, but in Atlanta. I like Atlanta. I'm just not sure what Pittsburgh's offense can do, and I don't think Russell Wilson's the right person to lead his offense at least right now. I think it's Justin Fields because he'll be able to do more with this patchwork offensive line that they have in Pittsburgh.
Justin.
You asked us what games did we want to highlight, right? And this will be my game that I would want to highlight. And I know it was like, Falcons versus the Steelers. Why would you don't like? Okay. I'm not worried about the Pittsburgh side of things. They're going to be real vanilla until they make the decision to go with Justin Fields. And at least they have the athletic chance to win a game moving forward. Like you said, who knows if Russell Wilson can even get the ball to George Pickens, and he likes don't just throw it up. So hopefully Russell can scramble out of things and make plays. But then you got Matthew Judon chasing you down on top of that. So with that being said, as a Buccaneer fan, we are patiently waiting to see how this rolls out. This is not. I'm not even bigging up Tampa with this one. Like our division is looking at Atlanta. We really want to see how great Kirk Cousins can be with these kind of weapons that he has at his disposal. Will Kyle Pitts get it together? Will Bijan be who we want him to be? Who he's expected to be? This man was had comparisons of LT and Marshall Faulk. That is pretty high praise out the running back position. So that's what we're looking for. We're looking forward to see if this is the start of it. If they come out and have a subpar performance, Drake London doesn't get any love. Kyle Pitts gets overthrown constantly. Bijan doesn't get featured as much as he could. For some reason, they're giving the ball to, I don't know, Tyler Algier 15, 20 times. Then it was like, oh, cool. We going to kick our feet up. We good to go, baby. But if it's the opposite, then it's gonna be one of these the ear joints, you know what I'm saying, biting the nails, all that. That's what it's gonna be. So I'm definitely looking forward towards this game. I am going for Atlanta because I do believe between the two parallels I just gave, I think they're going to be somewhat in the middle, which is enough for me to beat Pittsburgh until Pittsburgh get their head together.
See, I think this is a trap game, honestly, and I love Kirk Cousins, but coming off of that injury, to expect him to just be 100% and ready to roll game one after that injury, like I said, I think that's tough. I think he will have to lean on the running game. I hope that they run the ball a healthy amount of times. He takes the short passing game and really exploits it. But this Pittsburgh defense, I hate Patrick Queen, but they have some good pieces around them now with that pass rush. They still have TJ Watt, and that young man can destroy any game plan. And the worst thing you can be is hobbled and not have your full mobility against a pass rusher like a TJ Watt. All it takes is a strip sack.
Did Kirk Cousins have full mobility when he wasn't injured?
Hold on, chill out, bro.
Wait.
Just a question.
Can you imagine Kyle Pitts on Patrick Queen?
Jesus.
He wasn't playing. He'll be the same.
Hopefully, the defensive coordinator is a little bit more intelligent, and he won't exploit him like that.
This is your major free agent sign. You gotta show him off.
I hope he gets exploited, and I hope the Falcons put up 40 on him. But I'm just saying we have to temper our expectations on what to expect from Kirk Cousins' mobility in game one. I will not disrespect the Steelers' defense that much. I don't like their linebacking core. That's traditionally the inside linebackers are weak, but they still have some good corners. We know about Minkah Fitzpatrick. We know about TJ Watt. They have some playmakers. So I don't think that this game will be a blowout by any means. They're in Atlanta, but I do think this team will not look like they do in week one come week 6. And I think Atlanta will get better as the season goes on. But for this game, because I don't think Russell Wilson is much of anything, I will go with the Falcons as well. Sorry. That just tell you how bad Russ sucked. Another game that I wanted to make sure that we do highlight, and that's the Arizona Cardinals and the Buffalo Bills. Why do I bring up this game? And that's very important because a lot of people are saying that this is going to be a down year for the Buffalo Bills. No expectations. Josh Allen is devoid of weapons, doesn't have the receiving core that he's had in years past. So a lot of people have tempered their expectations. Both of you all don't even have the Bills making the playoffs. I think if there is a second team from the AFC to make the playoffs, it should be the Buffalo Bills because of the quarterback. On the other side, you have the Arizona Cardinals led by Kyler Murray. This is another quarterback who I feel like a couple years ago was getting talked about as one of the rising stars of the league, had a lot of limelight, and then injuries have just taken their toll. I really don't know what his future will hold much longer in Arizona if he doesn't continue to improve. But what exactly should we expect when they go out and get you a big-time receiver like a Marvin Harrison Jr.? Will this offense look explosive? I'm very interested to see how this matchup goes. Justin, your thoughts on this one?
This will be one of those conversations that we have to look back years later, or even at the end of the season and say, like, was this the start of something when it comes to the fresh breed of NFL receivers? I think Marvin Harrison is everything as advertised. I think the thing that you need to worry about is the Buffalo side. And if Josh Allen can connect with Keon Coleman early and have that rapport with him early, then that would definitely change a lot of people's opinions, including my own, moving forward. And hopefully that happens based off my fantasy team. But if it doesn't, and which is like, I think more realistic, I think Josh Allen will go through some early struggles until he started to get the situation right for himself. Hell, he went through struggles last year and then he kind of ran off a few games. So I do think that Arizona can pull an early upset here. I think Kyler Murray is a little bit more mature than what he was years past. Not so much playing Call of Duty and those kind of things. I think he's actually studying a little bit more based off of what is being said out of Arizona. I think they have an emerging running back that's waiting to take over in Trey Benson. I think they're going to have a situation very similar to Pittsburgh, whereas though Jaylen Warren is pretty much ready to take over the starting range over their starter, Najee Harris, and same thing for here. I think James Carter is on a short lease, whereas though they're going to pretty much run both of them. I truly think that Arizona can pull off the early, quote unquote, upset based off of who is on Buffalo and not necessarily how they're playing.
Calvin, what's your thoughts on this matchup? I know you hate Josh Allen.
I'm gonna temper my hate right now, but looking at Buffalo Bills, they lost Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer, Tre'Davious White, Matt Milano from their defense last year. In addition, there was an article that came out, I want to say it came out like a month ago, that basically said Von Miller should not have played last year because of the knee injury he suffered on Thanksgiving in 2022. And now he's, 34, 35 years old, and this is your leading pass rusher. That Buffalo defense may get torched easily.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you have a potentially great receiver in Marvin Harrison Jr., you have a mobile quarterback in Kyler Murray. It's great weather in Buffalo, and by great I mean just not cold and windy at this point in the year. I like Arizona as well. The Buffalo defense has to show up. And I'm not sure if they can. Now, Josh Allen may be able to put up points. Keon Coleman, Dalton Kincaid, not Singletary, Cook as well in the backfield. They may be able to score with them, but I don't know if their defense could stop anybody. And that's what really leads me to believe that Arizona's going to win this ball game. The defense. I'm just not sure if they can stop anyone with the rotation. With the new influx of talent, they basically have a whole new secondary.
True.
They have a new inside linebacker making the calls. They got to show me something. I'm not even talking about Josh Allen, the offense. The defense has to show me something. I know what Josh Allen can do. I still think he's devoid of weapons to an extent until they grow up. But their defense really scares me in Buffalo. I think they may give up a ton of points to where it's a shootout. And I don't know if Josh Allen has the weapons to compete if it's a shootout.
I just think it's tough to go into Orchard Park and get a win for Arizona, and they have a lot of unproven pieces right now.
In November, December, I agree with you. In September,
I just think this is a tough place to go in and get a win. I'm going with Buffalo. I'm not giving up on the Bills just yet. I got too much respect for that talent in that quarterback position. And again, Arizona, I hope prove me wrong. You know what I mean? I love to see Marvin Harrison Jr. be a next big breakout star. Hey, that's great. I got him on a couple fantasy teams, so I'm not mad. Huh?
I said, didn't even talk about Trey McBride.
Yeah, good point. We'll see how things go. Next up, the Houston Texans travel to Indianapolis to take on the Colts. This battle, the AFC South. A lot of expectations going on this season for the Houston Texans after that tremendous season they had last year, which got them into the playoffs and got them a win over the Cleveland Browns in the playoffs. But then you look at Anthony Richardson, who got injured early in the season last year, coming back this season healthy. He has Jonathan Taylor fully healthy for the first time in a few years.
And paid.
Yes, healthy and paid. That defense still has weapons. I don't care what anybody says. Do your research. The Colts are not to be played with. I think this game is going to be very interesting. I know a lot of people are picking the Texans, but I'm going to go out on the limb. I like what I saw from Anthony Richardson last season. I like what I saw with that offense, and he has weapons to get the ball to. And I think the Colts are going to win this ball game in the opener. I know they went out and got Diggs in the offseason. Supposed to be getting Tank Dell back in Houston. But I just like that home field advantage in Indianapolis. And I like the style of offense they run. I'm going with the Colts. Calvin, what you got?
I like Houston this matchup. I think this is where we see this new offense in Houston, or just a new added weapon, I should say. Surprised that they made Stephon Diggs a captain. He's one of the captains for this year. Obviously, means he's been on his best behavior. So all those reports out of Buffalo seem to be untrue, maybe. But I like Houston this matchup. We still need to see more Anthony Richardson. Some of the preseason games have really had me concerned. Just some of the talk in Cincinnati about his ability to read, not necessarily read defense, but just go through the progression of a defense. So, and that's still something a rookie quarterback goes through. So I think he'll struggle early on, but late in the season, you'll probably start to see year two Anthony Richardson. But until then, I'm picking Houston.
Justin.
Making Diggs captain is man, he playing with
playing with Josh Allen? Is that a shot at Josh Allen?
Water. No, I'm not blaming. I mean, both things could be true. Maybe he was a problem in Buffalo, and now he's on his best behavior. But because I'm the captain, shouldn't you be listening to me when I say throw me the ball? So, I don't, and
They blame Ken Dorsey for that.
It's interesting. It's an interesting mix when it comes to that because Tank Dell is healthy, and we'll see how they run that offense. Joe Mitchell should have some very simple goal line situations for them, but I am still going for the Houston Texans to win. With that being said, I still like Anthony Richardson to dominate as well. I think both things can happen. I think he can start to put he wasn't bad last year. He was actually doing pretty good. I can see Mike Pittman going for, some big plays, not necessarily running the ball, but catching it while it's in the air because he's not the best at that. And let's not forget, you got JT over there that's just primed and ready to actually work and play with Anthony Richardson. Let's see how creative their offensive coordinator can be when you have someone like Anthony Richardson playing with JT in the backfield. So, by all means, I do believe that this is going to be one of the highest scoring games in the league for the first week. So, I do have Houston edging them out, but I don't see no blowout or anything like that. I strongly believe that the Colts are going to put the league on notice saying that Anthony Richardson is that real deal, and last year wasn't a fluke.
Yep. Division matchup.
Yeah, the shoulder injury, right?
If I'm not mistaken, yes.
Honestly, I can't remember.
I didn't think it was like knee or ankle related.
No,
it was definitely upper body.
Okay.
Next up, the Jacksonville Jaguars traveled to Miami to take on the Dolphins. Now, a lot of people are picking the Jags to make the playoffs this year, and they think they really have added a few pieces that will get them over the hump. Me, on the other hand, I'm going with Miami Dolphins to make it all the way to the Super Bowl. I have high expectations for Tua Tagovailoa in this high-powered offense, but also I think the defense will be the unit that will surprise a lot of people if they are able to stay healthy. This team is loaded on both sides of the football. I have no doubts that this team will come out firing and will put up big numbers with a healthy Achane. Mostert, just loaded everywhere you look. I like the Dolphins in this matchup. Calvin, what do you see?
So you got them going 17-0?
Maybe.
Curious.
It's happened before.
Okay. I like Miami. Weather's still warm, still early in the season. When it gets cold, things get a little tricky, and they go on the road.
Y'all put too much stock in this weather.
It's warm down there in Miami. They ain't gotta go nowhere. Tua's healthy for now. Arm is fresh. He can throw the ball 40 yards downfield. So
40.
I like Miami. It probably 30. I probably overestimated.
You're a hater. Go ahead, Justin. 40. Your thoughts on this matchup?
That was the most lackluster praise that you can give, brother. That definitely was on the hater side, and I picked Tua to be one of those guys to prove something, and I also picked Miami to at least go to the AFC Championship, but host it nonetheless. With all that being said, I got Miami.
You got them 16-1.
No, I did not have them 16-1. Stop putting stats there. But with that being said, I think this is going to be a blowout. I think this is going to be one of the biggest blowouts of week one. I don't believe anything that Jacksonville has going on. Shout out to Doug Peterson. It's not going to be 100% your fault. I just don't trust your quarterback being that guy. This might be 14, at least 14 point, at least 2 touchdown lead that Miami wins this game with no issues whatsoever. It's the first game of the season. They're definitely poised and ready. It's going to be a track show. Just sit back and watch. Get your popcorn ready.
I don't like Travis Etienne. Anybody have any, is he like a standout for anybody? Do y'all like his, does he pop off the screen when you watch him play? I just don't see it.
I think this year he will. I feel like they tried to get they really tried to get Ridley the ball and try to get him back in the swing of things after having their year off last year. And then they had Christian Kirk as well. So you take away one of them weapons, you bring in a solid 2 in Gabe Davis, in my opinion. I think Etienne will be have a bigger role in the offense this year. But last year he was just kind of the king of monotony, just kind of easing along.
I thought he was solid his first year when they had that 1-2 punch what Robinson? Remember, what was it, James Robinson or something like that? Remember they had that 1-2 punch, and then they
I think
traded.
it was Robinson.
Yeah, they
I
traded him.
I thought Robinson was the. I thought he was a kick. Was the kick returner too? Robinson.
He was a running back.
No, I'm saying, was he the kick returner also?
I'm not sure.
I mean, I think they got Tanks Bigsby for that same reason, right?
Okay.
For a 1-2 punch. But at the end of the day, I mean, Travis Etienne is just he's that checkoff guy. Like if I had a list of things, he can check off a lot of boxes, but I don't think he does anything great with that. And they key in on him because they're waiting for Mr. Lawrence to exploit them over the top, and he struggles with that right now. So I think he's overrated, and I think hopefully one of these seasons I think this is the season that he gets proved that.
And they paid him. I don't think he was worthy of that money, but it is what it is. Next up, the Dallas Cowboys travel to Cleveland to take on the Cleveland Browns. Very, very interesting matchup for some people here, but not for me. I got Cleveland winning the AFC North this year, so clearly I think that they are a very good team. I think they have the best defense in the league. I think that they will show it on Sunday. It will be very difficult for the Cowboys to go into the dog pound and pull out a victory. I think Deshaun Watson has a lot to prove this season. He has a lot of pressure on him, and it starts in game 1. Now they are, going to be starting Jerome Ford, who is a serviceable running back. Very good. Very good. Kareem Hunt backing him up. I think they have a good mix of offense and defensive talent that will be able to be successful. On the other side, the Cowboys, I need to see what that running game is able to do. I need to see, are they able to are they not going to just put Dak in a drop back position, leaving him there on an island, and will that offensive line be exploited? And that's when the turnover will start to happen for Dak. I think that against that pass rush with the Zadarius Smith, with the Myles Garrett, it could be a long day for the Cowboys. I'm going with the Browns. Justin, how you see it?
It's time for Deshaun Watson to exercise his demons and prove himself like someone was holding him accountable for, although he got hurt last year. I also have Cleveland Browns for this one. I just think Dallas. I mean, are they even going to have a running game this year? Like who knows? Like we're not banking on Ezekiel Elliott, are we?
Leonard is
on Alvin Cook. Were we banking on these guys?
That has to potentially be the best. Go ahead.
The best people to retire at the same time. That's where we're going with those two guys.
Best running back tandem in the league.
It's tough. It's going to be a tough year for the Cowboys. It's going to be a tough year for that star. It's going to be a tough year for Jerry Jones. It's going to be a tough year for Dak. I think Dak is going to. Hey man, he might be running for us like this first game. But the person that like I said, people that you might want to look at, people that you may people to watch. I think Watson to Judy is something that we need to be looking at because this probably is the team that Jerry Jeudy was waiting for to actually prove that he's like one of those guys. Alabama bred, he's definitely looking to prove himself that he couldn't do in Denver. Like I said, we heard with him and Steve Smith and the things that they had going on, basically called him out, saying that turned out that guy, and then he went on social media to go back and forth with a Hall of Famer, soon to be. Not the best thing to do. So I think this is the start of that type of connection. This is the start of Amari Cooper going and seeing Dallas again and saying, y'all forget that I was on this team and y'all let me go. That kind of a thing. So I think that it's not going to be, I don't think it's going to be a blowout with all that being said, but for sure, Cleveland's going to take this one convincingly though.
All right, Cowboys fan. Tell us what's going to happen and how
much y'all losing. Just be honest.
Look, I already said they are not making the playoffs. I have them second in the division, not making the playoffs. I already said, CD. I don't know if CD's playing. I'm assuming he was playing because he was signed last week. This makeshift offensive line, this throwback running back room. Who the hell thinks they're going to win? Like, beat Cleveland? It is Cleveland, though. It is Cleveland. So I got the Cowboys win this matchup because it is Cleveland, as I said. I
You said
still
you got
have
what?
faith. I still have faith in Dak until proven wrong. I still have faith. He may not
One,
be
you
here
gonna
next
lose
year.
faith.
He may not be here next year, but I still have faith in Dak. And they could put up numbers on this supposedly best defense in the NFL. I had to see it to believe it. Deshaun Watson, I had to see it to believe it. You talked about Jerry. You just omitted Amari Cooper, but
I
Amari
actually
Cooper
said
went
Amari
up.
Cooper right after that, by the way. But go ahead.
That's fine. But he's going to be on the same side of Trayvon Diggs. Look, I like the Cowboys' this matchup in Cleveland. It's week 1. It's not week 10. We're not in November, December yet. If this was in November, I wouldn't be taking them. But this is week 1. We got to build up to this slow roller coaster where in week 4 or 5 they 4-1, and then we're gonna take this long slow road down. But until we get to that point, I'm taking the Cowboys.
Well, folks, I'm gonna just give you a little bit of peek behind the curtain and tell you why it's important that you not only tune in each and every week to get off the damn fence.
What's the point spread?
Tune in.
Are they the underdogs?
Tune in every Thursday
I'll
to the
give the points
LNC
right
Lock
now.
Show, because
That's
this is
how
why
much
I
I
take
like them.
Calvin's money all the time. Like this, these type of takes, these type of picks where he leads with his heart and not logic, not thought process that makes sense, where he goes off on these limbs that makes no sense. Now I go out for the limb, but I try to base mine in logic. But what we typically do, we bet head to head, and Calvin loses typically because he picks the Cowboys, the Chargers, teams that have no hope or, you know what I mean, rhyme or reason. But another reason why, so what we're going to be doing on Get Off the Damn Fence is next week we're going to be reviewing the games from the previous weekend. So we're going to be talking about this matchup. So we're not letting Calvin on the hook. We're going to talk about the
matchup and add it back. So when they score 30,
have no fear. We're not just moving on to the next
That's
week
all I'm saying.
And talking about the upcoming matchups. That's for LNC Lock Show. We're talking about this game next Tuesday, and you're going to hear Calvin come in here and say, well, you know, y'all didn't really think the Cowboys were going to win. I just had to stick with my team. You know what I mean? Pathetic.
That is pathetic. I want to do that for Tampa, man.
I gave you the courage of my conviction to.
I wish I had the clip right now of him pulling out, pulling his jersey from underneath his chair last year. How about them Cowboys? Remember that Cowboys? You remember that? A few mere weeks later, it was over.
It's a whole new season. Until we get to October, November, like I said, we good.
Man, they break your heart every year, man. This is sad. Hey, man, I'll keep you in my thoughts all weekend. Next up,
I'm not.
The Washington Commanders travel to Tampa to take on the Buccaneers. Now, speaking of hearts, this is Justin's team, the Bucs. And I think this is a pretty interesting matchup, to be honest with you. The Washington Commanders are a vastly improved franchise. Got a new quarterback at the helm. We seem to say that every season here lately. They've started a new quarterback probably each of the last, 3-4 seasons now. I remember the Heineke project, then Sam Howell, and now like Lord, how many guys can you go through?
Back to the quarterback that passed, forgot his name.
Yeah.
Who'd you say?
Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah, Haskins. Yeah.
It's always another project, but we'll see if this works out for them. Tampa, on the other hand, had a really good resurgent year under Baker Mayfield last year. Mike Evans found his sea legs again. I really like this matchup, and I think that there is a chance that this could be a matchup that, has playoff wildcard implications later in the year. If Tampa doesn't win the division, they're going to be fighting for a wild card, and Washington could very easily be in that fight as well. Calvin, we'll start with you. How do you see this matchup going down in Tampa Bay?
In Tampa Bay, this Tampa Bay defense, I'm interested to see how Justin kind of defends them. I think Jayden Daniels has potential. We talk about the potential to be Rookie of the Year. We talk about how just his poise, his NFL readiness, and what he's done so far in the preseason. Now, this is preseason, and this is a whole new game going to regular season. I think Jayden Daniels will make some big plays. He will lead this offense. I don't think it will be enough to win this ball game, so I'm going with Tampa Bay. But I do think we will see glimpses of what could be in Washington with Jayden Daniels at the helm. I just think Tampa Bay, early on the season, Tampa Bay is more playoff ready and more ready to win now than Washington. They're still young in Washington. They still have a young quarterback. They have a whole new coaching staff with Dan Quinn, former defensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys. I just think they're not ready yet, but we will see glimpses of what can be in Tampa Bay. I have never, and I don't think I will be, a fan of the person at quarterback going back to these Cleveland days. But they still have Mike Evans. They still have Rachaad White. They still have.
You say his name. You say his name. Now don't you omit his name like
They
that.
still have.
Look,
Is it my turn to talk or is it your turn to talk? You can go ahead and defend your quarterback. You can go ahead and defend your quarterback. I'm not even going to say his name. I was going to say it, but I can't even. I'm not even going to utter that name. Just for what he's done and made y'all believe that y'all have a shot.
You won't get that look of disgust off your face on top of that.
Just for what he's done for these Tampa Bay fans. I think it's a very beautiful city. But what he's done to y'all and thinking y'all have a shot by just having this little bit of hope, y'all should have got a quarterback last year. But that's a whole nother subject. But I do have Tampa Bay winning, and I do have those individuals making the quarterback look better than he is, as they will do a lot this year. I like Tampa Bay.
Justin, your thoughts on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Washington Commanders?
You know,
I got y'all winning. What more do you want?
You ain't got to be like that. That look of disgust should be held in reserve for Jerry Jones and what he put you through for this upcoming season. That's where that look of disgust should have went to. But that's neither here nor there. With that being said, Tampa Bay will win this game. I am 100% confident that's going to happen. However, I do think JD5 will put the league on somewhat of a notice. Not necessarily game one.
Do you got a nickname for your quarterback?
Shake and bake, baby. Don't get it twisted. So JD5 will do very nicely. Maybe a few bad fourth quarter, maybe one or two interceptions in the fourth quarter. I think it's going to be like the win out the sale, that kind of a thing. Because we're just a better team right now. But there's no shot to Washington or whatever it is that they're trying to get done over there. But I mean, when you have Mike Evans, Chris Godwin playing back out the slot, keep this in mind. Jalen McMillian, he's definitely going to be a player to watch. He's our third receiver. He took my man Trey's spot, the burner that we had. He's a rookie. I just like what we're doing. The center that we picked up, my man Graham, he's been very solid in the preseason, and I just think it's going to be Rachaad White year of redemption, saying you're going to give me all those carries and I don't have the stats. Well, this year I probably have better stats, much more better stats. So shout out to Rachaad White and what he can do this year. So it's not to be said. It's Washington. They are up and coming team, but we're just getting way too early in the process. So yeah. Dominant win.
I'm going the other way. I think Washington, it's very interesting that Austin Eckler, who was a perennial big time running back for the Chargers, is now in Washington, and he's like the second or third string running back. Like that's very interesting to me. I don't remember a major injury or something taking place.
I think he wants to be. I think he wants to be more of a hybrid guy. I think he wants to be more of the slot receiver / backup running back. I think that's what he wants versus getting the handoff and having to deal with that. He
did
talks
complain about the amount of
he has a podcast or something like that. He just doesn't want the toll that it takes on a running back anymore. So I think he's really, really looking towards that slot receiver spot.
So you say he didn't want as many touches?
He complained about the touches he got last year. It was the year before going into last year, I think.
I seen this in an interview where he said he wanted to run the ball more.
Maybe that wasn't last year. And also it was a matter of him not being paid as well. So
they were trying to justify not paying him, and he was like, "Well, I ain't get the touches." Because I remember him and Aaron Jones were actually on the same interview, and they was both kind of saying the same thing. And it's just interesting they both in different locations this season. I just think he will emerge and be another big time player for this Washington team. They still got Scary Terry. And I love the quarterback. Look, I know
they just didn't add more wide receiver help. When they lost Dotson, I really thought he was going to bring in somebody.
I didn't like that.
I didn't like that either.
I agree with you. I
But
agree with you there.
it led you to believe that either they thought they were getting IU or they thought they had a really good chance of getting them, and they were trying to clear some. It was a reason they do it. You don't do that in division either. It's got to be more to it. So.
Yeah, but like I say, I don't feel strong enough about it. But I wouldn't be shocked with the upset. That's not to piss you off, Justin, because I'm sure you're very confident.
You was very objective when you presented the team. Only the person that went after you.
Next up, the Los Angeles Rams travel to Detroit to take on the Lions. I think this is one of the matchups of the weekend, to be honest with you.
Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, this is pretty good. Of course, Jared Goff taking on his old team. We saw these two teams play last year. Very, very interesting matchup on both sides of the football, if you ask me. Puka Nacua is healthy. He got the clear. He will be playing in this game alongside Cooper Kupp, Kyron Williams. You got Matthew Stafford. They got a full litany of weapons out there in LA, and they're going against the Detroit Lions, who everybody's picked to win that NFC North. The Lions coming off of a division championship stint in the playoffs. A lot of expectations, and I always say expectations changes the ball game. And we'll see if the Lions are able to play from the catbird seat instead of being the people they're chasing. And I honestly am high on this Rams team. I think that I've been on record. I told you all that I think that the NFC North is a lot closer than people think. I'm higher on the Bears than most people are. And for that to happen, the Lions will lose a game like this, which will keep that division close. I'm going with the Rams in this matchup, and I would not be shocked if this is a matchup that we might see down the line again. Let's start with you this time, Calvin.
So and actually one of my, I know we'll get into this more tomorrow. One of my bets is that I have in right now is the Lions to be the last undefeated team. I think after this matchup, I don't think they play. I don't know if he wanted to describe a good team, but like the next team that they play with a decent quarterback, I think is like Green Bay, like week 8 or 9. So they get through this. That's just one of the bets I had. But I had to, so obviously I have Detroit win this matchup. I think it's two things. One, they're home. 2, you actually have a healthy Sam Laporta who was banged up in that playoff matchup. And 3, this is the first game for LA post Aaron Donald. I'm not sure what to expect from that defense without Aaron Donald. I'm not saying they won't be okay at some point this season, but I think game 1, a big game, prime time with no Aaron Donald, I just think that defense will struggle just a tad bit more than because they're playing a good offense as well. So I got the Detroit man to win this matchup.
Justin?
Your disrespect just knows there's no boundaries for
What a disrespect.
Larry, do you know who they play next week?
Tampa Bay.
They play Tampa Bay. Oh my God. Okay. All right.
Try to slide that one in.
But knowing this hater, they probably play Miami in this stint too. Go ahead.
No, they actually played Dallas
and Buffalo
after that too. So that was might have just bit himself in that. But with that being said, we're not gonna talk about next week. We're talking about this week. We're talking about the Rams. We're talking about Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Kyron Williams, and the squad. And I just think it's a tough match for them moving forward. I just don't think they have enough. But with that being said, it's like picking straws. You guys are pretty much spot on with what you guys were saying. I'm just going to give the edge to the Lions on the strength of Gibbs. He already said he was pretty much healthy, 98 to 100%. I just think he's going to make a little bit more plays by himself versus what Jared Goff would do for the team, because he's just that dynamic. So I just think it's going to come to individual plays and who makes the best individual plays amongst the two. And I think I'm going to give the edge to Gibbs until I don't see it. So I'm going for the Lions, particularly only for that reason. I don't think Aaron Donald is a big piece of this. Aaron Donald wasn't the same Aaron Donald last year. He was definitely
but he still was a lead that defense, though. Yeah, he still was a lead that defense, though.
They were taking advantage of him.
Yeah, but you can always say certain things, but you still have to back it up. And he really wasn't doing that last year. So they might be good to get him up out of the building, to be honest with you. So yeah, we'll see. But I don't think Aaron Donald thing is a big factor here. I think who's going to make the less mistakes? Matt Stafford. He's coming back home yet again. Is he going to outperform Jared Goff? He might. But like I said, I think it's going to come to individual plays, and Gibbs will make more.
Be interesting to see. Either way, it's a good matchup. And finally, on Monday Night Football, the New York Jets travel to San Francisco to take on the 49ers. This is the last matchup of the week. Let's start with you, Justin. I think this is going to be interesting because this is you got to really look at the schedule makers and say, wow, last year on Monday Night Football in the opener, Aaron Rodgers goes down on the fourth play of the game, and that was it for the season. So Aaron Rodgers' first game back, we don't ease him in, you know what I mean, with like put a Carolina Panthers or, maybe a Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
A nice Sunday 1 o'clock game.
Yeah, you don't give him nothing away. He could, get his feet a little wet, throw him out there, maybe a softball game just to say, hey, he's back, warm him up. No, you throw him right into the fire against probably one of the best 2 or 3 defenses in the whole league, and the 49ers in San Francisco, which rightfully so, since the Jets have not been good. It's not like they deserve to just start at home, but bad teams deserve to go on the road and be an easy layup for a good team. And but this is marquee. The hype with the New York media will make this out to be. Mike Greenberg will be pumping this up on Get Up all day on Monday. He won't even probably be talking about the games from the day before. They'll be talking about tonight's game. And I just think the Brock Purdy and that offense with that defense and that running game with Christian McCaffrey, who is the leader of that offense, is just too much. I don't believe in this Jets team. I told you all that. I don't have them making the playoffs. I don't see it. I know y'all do, but this is going to be indicative. And honestly, I don't wish injury on nobody. But we're going to see really quickly how good Aaron Rodgers is. And don't get me wrong. I always was a Rodgers fan in Green Bay. I did not like how he got out of town, and I haven't liked him since. But I think this will really tell a big tale or just how good this Jets team can be, is how successful they'll be against a great defense like the 49ers. Let's start with you, Justin. Your thoughts.
You know what? You're right. The 49ers does have a great defense on all 3 levels of the ball. And Breece Hall will still go for 125 yards rushing, and the Jets will win. I don't, like I said before, this is not Aaron Rodgers MVP type of a year. It will not be that. It will be Breece Hall type of an MVP year. Like I said, I have him going over 2,000 yards. I said it. I said it here before you hear anyone else say it. So when he starts breaking off some big games, that right here first.
Don't worry, I'm gonna clip this. Don't worry.
You will.
Nothing to worry about.
It's on wax. So yeah, definitely it starts game 1. The Jets want to put everybody on notice. It starts game 1. They will beat the San Francisco 49ers. And they're going to don't be surprised. They're going to say, oh well, Brandon's just getting back into form. They didn't have Trent Williams until today. That's the reason why Brock Purdy didn't have a great game. They're going to give you all these excuses. Understand that it's not going to be excuses once we start to move forward in the season. It will be because of the New York Jets and how strong they are, both offensively and defensively. You're going to see how much better their defense will be now that you have Aaron Rodgers not turning the ball over, making big plays to, let's say, a Garrett Wilson that they have on the team. And then Breece will eat, and Breece will eat some more, and he'll eat even more. He will make this defense look foolish.
Man,
I said it.
If I didn't hear right, I thought you was talking about the Knicks, the New York Knicks. Excuse me. But anyway, Calvin.
Yeah, I wasn't going that far. So I will say it'd be interesting because I think this is Robert Saleh's first time playing against San Francisco since he became the Jets head coach in 2020, 2021, whatever he is. So I think he's a little bit more familiar with that offense. Not saying he can slow it down, and it has some new pieces. Obviously Christian McCaffrey, but the core is still there with Trent Williams, with Debo. They drafted Brandon Ayuk. I think the year, his last year there as well. So he's somewhat familiar with the Shanahan offense. So I think he'll be able to slow them down slightly enough for the Jets to win the game. I still want to see what this offense can be with Aaron Rodgers, with Garrett Wilson, and with Breece Hall. The sky's the limit, even with an old 40-plus-year-old Aaron Rodgers. I don't think, and I'm assuming that Trent Williams is going to play as well, even with little to no practice time. I'm assuming Brandon Ayuk is going to play with little to no practice time. I'm assuming Hassan Reddick will not play because he's still the only player holding out, I believe. So that hurts that pass rush as well. But I do think the New York Jets, they're going to make they want to make a statement, especially on Monday Night Football, basically 1 year after Aaron Rodgers goes down to show what they can be. And I think they're riding high, and this is the biggest game that they've had the last couple of years because of what happened last year to Aaron Rodgers. So I like the Jets matchup.
Well, 49ers are my Super Bowl pick. Ain't got no reason to think they're going to lose to the Jets at home. I just don't see it. But anything can happen in game one. So good luck to you all. All right, let's move on. We need to talk about some fantasy football because this past Sunday, we had our fantasy football draft. Now, my intention was to have a slide with each of our teams. But, of course, I told you all last week that last year I gave up the job of being the commissioner of our league and turned it over to my brother Calvin. And if it would have been me still, we'd had these teams locked in on Sunday night, maybe Monday at the latest. People have been able to change their team around. I'd have had full slides of what our teams are. But, everybody don't move as fast as me. So, unfortunately, I wasn't able to get all the teams loaded up. So, what we're going to do is, first of all, tell you that I did win last year, as you can see up on that screen. Calvin came in second place with a 7-7 record. Terrible, but he squeaked his way through. Howard Man is 7-7, is able to get into the playoffs at all. Is a travesty in itself. But then we gotta look all the way down here
at the bottom, like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You just kind of
guy named Black Avengers. That's Justin Harris, 5-8. Now, guys, if just to cue you in, that's typical. You know what I mean?
That's 5-9, by the way. 5-9.
I mean, you got 9. My eyes don't work that good.
Yeah, not 5-8. 5-9.
It's kind of typical of Justin. He doesn't really do well in these type of things. Well, let's just be for just the sake of time. Justin, tell us some of the highlights of your draft this year. Who did you take? Who do you have high hopes for? Were you able to get any steals in the draft? We drafted 5 and 6 this year, so I saw your draft up close and personal. You did steal one guy from me, but overall, were you happy with your draft? And what are you thinking?
So, those that's out there, and if we clip this, we can clip this. Starting quarterback C.J. Stroud, A.J. Brown, Mike Pittman, Isaiah Pacheco, Bijan, Dalton Kincaid, Joe Mixon, Jalen Warren. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a whole different than what I had last year. This is, and this will be one of the better teams in this particular league that I'm in right now. And a caveat to last year, we're not going to act like I didn't go Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, and I got burned for that. So we're not going to act like that duo didn't perform, and I still managed to squeak out a couple victories on top of that when I based a lot of things on them too. But with that being said, I have backup. I have prepared myself this year, so I won't necessarily have all my eggs in a particular basket, although that basket should have been a golden goddamn basket. But it's okay. It's all right. We are here now. Y'all heard the lineup. This is a different situation. I have backup. Trust and believe me, I am good to go this year. And I have no issues. Matter of fact, do you know the team name? You've seen the team name. It is OTC. I got rid of the Black Avengers. OTC, acknowledge me. So I'm putting the league on notice. Yeah, the rest of the fellows in the league, y'all want to acknowledge me this year. That's all I'm saying.
Have you won anything before the big? No.
That's neither here nor there. Okay. I'm doing my solo support right now. Y'all want to acknowledge me.
That's my first question. I got another question. I believe this was said on Sunday that Reggie, who is Empire King, he drafted Aaron Rodgers, who played 4 plays, and he finished higher than you. And you had Joe Burrow, who played 8 more games. So it ain't adding up. I'm just
Yeah, you gotta have a backup plan.
You failed to say Jamar Chase is on top
Did
of
he
that.
play all
He did
6,
not
17
have a
games?
great season last year, and that was supposed to be my 1-2 punch.
That's part of the game.
Don't do that.
Okay. No, I'm just making. I just wanted to make sure we paint the whole picture.
I'm
I
just
don't
saying
like
it right.
painting
I will
that
say
picture.
this week in, week out. Acknowledge me.
Okay, Calvin, tell us about your team.
I mean, I got the reigning, defending MVP and Lamar Jackson.
You're hitching
my
your wagon,
keeper,
baby.
My keeper was Nico Collins, CeeDee Lamb, Travis Etienne. I got a glutton of running backs. Now I already
Who
seen
said it was trash earlier, but go ahead.
No, I didn't say he was trash. Larry said he was trash.
You pretty much said he was trash.
No. I said he had a good season. He was expecting to have a better season with no Calvin Ridley. Go back and look at the tape.
You said
That's
that.
what I said. What I don't understand is how we have a team on here that has 5 tight ends. Because he just picked up another one tonight. Now, granted, he's on the IR, but he has 5 tight ends right now.
We've been Leonard.
Bernard, yeah.
Oh yeah.
He picked up TJ.
Yeah, 3 tight ends before I took my second running back.
He picked up TJ.
We gotta get context, guys. We can only run 2 tight ends at a time. This is not a flex.
Yeah.
Okay, this is not a double tight end and then 2 flexes that include tight ends. No, it's just 2 tight ends max. And he went on and got whoever he needed to get, but he might see something that we don't see. I'm not gonna knock him for
Trey bait. That's what he's gonna say. Yeah, man, your team is solid though, Calvin. I'll give you credit. I think I like Justin's a little better. Mine, I'm going to be honest, guys. I banked my title last year, and this year I took a different strategy. I've learned the rules of this league, especially with this IR position and your keeper. In this league, we get to hold a keeper for next season as long as you drafted the person in the 7th round or later, or you picked them up in the transaction throughout the season. So I kind of handcuffed myself by taking Nick Chubb later in the draft. I like Nick Chubb. I think he would be a value pick either for later in this season or going into next season. But also, I went and got Keaton Mitchell, who is a standout for the Baltimore Ravens, who suffered some injury last year. We got a lot of high hopes for him. I think he will be a very good high piece for us. But overall, my team, I got the quarterback that I wanted. I valued him. I went after I got him in Tua Tagovailoa. I think he'll put up phenomenal stats once again this season. I backed him up with Matthew Stafford. Went and got my keeper in Puka Nacua. Justin Jefferson is my second receiver. I know you're probably saying, who's his quarterback? But when you got a talent like that, you just go get him, and you get what you can get. Saquon Barkley is my starting running back. I think he's going to have a short year in Philadelphia. Aaron Jones, again, without a
short year?
A short year.
Oh.
Without a quarterback in Minnesota, I think Aaron Jones will get a big load of the carries and be able to show himself again some of the talents we saw in Green Bay early on. My tight end is Cole Kmet out of Chicago, who I think will be a valuable piece for a rookie quarterback, and Caleb Williams. Deebo Samuels, what more can you say about him? I went and got, like, say, Nick Chubb, J.K. Dobbins. Who knows what we're going to get out of him? I got a Jalen Waddle from the Miami Dolphins, who is also a standout. Could be easily a number 1 on many teams. Keenan Allen, a lot of people have written him off, but in the PPR league, I can count on some Keenan Allen, baby. And then again, Keaton Mitchell. I'm very happy with my draft. Brock Bowers is a backup tight end. A lot of people out of Georgia. I think he's going to be phenomenal. I think I have a well-rounded roster. We haven't talked about defense because I really don't care about that. But I think it's going to be a competitive year. I like all of our teams for different reasons, but the key will be transactions. If you look at these moves, and I wanted to highlight this from last season, I won the league by making 36 moves all year long. You don't need to make a lot of moves. You make impactful moves. You make moves when it counts. Look at Calvin. 55 moves.
When you make
to get you 7 and 7.
The right move, it leads you to the playoffs and beyond. I believe I made it to the title game last year with these moves.
No, Calvin, you fell for it just then. He set all that up. just so he can slide you. But you don't understand that he prefaced all that by saying, "Oh, it's next year that I'm really thinking about it." He already tanked on the season, ladies and
I
gentlemen.
prepped
He just
myself.
didn't want to admit to it, right? He
Ain't
already
taking
tanked
nothing.
on the season.
Mm-mm.
That's why he prefaced it by saying, "Well, we got a keeper league, right? And we're going to pick
I'm
this
not
person, and this
greedy.
person for next year." He already said it, guys. So when we switch spots, basically here, it's gonna be, you're gonna hear it now.
You think I'm gonna be all the way down
Yeah.
there where you at?
Well, that's pretty much what's going to happen. He will have no injuries to blame, but himself picking injured players. That's what's going to happen. It's okay though, guys. Don't worry about it. It's
My
okay.
team is well balanced and prepped for greatness. But good luck to both of you all. This will be a fun season. Very fun draft. We always draft in person. Now today you all were talking about possibly getting one of those suites at the Ravens Stadium next year. Calvin, tell us about that.
Yeah, apparently you can draft live at the Ravens Stadium, get a tour of the locker room, get to go on field, all for for the experience, but just to and it's all you can eat and all you can drink, which is fan favorite of mine.
That's what's up. $65 a person.
But no, I think it depends on the amount of people. It's
We
a
can
flat.
get 14 people.
We don't have a 14-team league. That's what I was saying. That's what I was saying in the chat.
Get 4 people to come and just chill. We'll be all right.
And I do like how they provide. Maybe next year they provide the mat with the names. Now they don't have defensive names, but that's a nice touch to add. But then all of a sudden people don't have the same responsibility to keep up with the picks.
Well, see, I think I always thought about this. If we try to enlist somebody who's not drafting, not like doesn't have a team, and they can be like the person who writes the names down or records the picks or on a board or something like that. Maybe we can get a couple of assistants, give them a free meal or something like that, or to do the job. Instead of you had to type.
Stadium.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I think that'd be
and
cool.
You get free food and drink.
Yeah, invite them on down. They can record everything on the big board for us, and since you ain't got it, somebody can be the timekeeper. Somebody else, you know what I mean? We can divvy out a couple jobs. I think that'd be fun. Yeah, so we got time. We can think about that.
Justin, you'll be able to see what it's like to go to a stadium when they won 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Big time. Big time.
They won 2 Super Bowls. Don't do that.
I just thought about that. I'm gonna keep moving with that. I just kept it.
Understood.
Let's get into some college football. Very briefly, we're going to touch on college football because the season started last week. A lot of things about college football really come down to who's going to the BCS, the Bowl Championship Series. They used to call it the BCS,
playoff.
College football playoff. They used to call it the BCS.
I ain't heard BCS in 10 years.
Remember the computer used to kick out? Oh, man, that was crazy times back in the day. But this year, the championship will be in Atlanta. I feel like it's always in Atlanta or New Orleans or something like that. But anyway, there's some teams out there that we always know are going to be there towards the end. Some of those teams this year, right now, AP has Georgia, Oklahoma, Texas, Alabama, right there at the top, like always. Those are the best teams in the league right now. Ohio State always at the top for as contention for a top spot. Did you all watch any of the games from this past weekend? Anything catch your eye? If so, cool. If not, plenty more games to watch. I know for me, watching Colorado, Lord have mercy, the other night in Shador, that connection. Look, at the end of the day, there are some players out here that are great, and then you got Travis Hunter. This young man is setting himself on a different level. And if he continues playing at the rate he's playing right now, he will be one of the top picks in the NFL and one of the best players in the league, period, for years to come. But right now, as far as college, he's right in the running for the Heisman. Calvin, I'll start with you. Your thoughts on anything you've seen thus far in college football?
I did see Texas play at Colorado State, actually. And so you got to see Arch Manning in the third and fourth quarter of that blowout. And he might be the most athletic Manning yet.
Yeah.
Just a couple of the runs that he made. And, I think with him and was it Quinn Ewers, I believe is his name, they got some quarterbacks down there in Texas, and I think
I'm
next
not
year.
laughing at what you're saying. You're saying factual stuff, but we have like that's a high bar to be like the most athletic man.
I mean, the ball ain't high,
Hey,
but
Eli was a scrambler,
it ain't
baby.
high.
Did you see that one when he threw it off Tyreek's face mask? He kept himself
He
alive.
was a survivor. That's a difference.
Fight or flight, damn it.
Maybe because he's young too. I didn't realize he was a redshirt freshman even. So he got one more year eligibility than I thought. But Arch Manning, I mean, I was looking forward to seeing him play, especially at the last year. Him just kind of sitting behind Quinn Ewers, and thought it was interesting that he went there and knowing he would be behind the quarterback instead of playing right away. But he was someone I wanted to see, and I was glad I was able to see him. And they're gonna be interesting, especially next year when Quinn Ewers goes to the NFL.
Yeah. Justin, anything jump out to you from the first weekend of college?
Well, two things actually. First thing will be I'm a big University of Miami fan. I'm a Hurricane fan. So the shellacking that they gave Florida, 41-17, and it wasn't that close. Cam Ward has put himself on the Heisman hopefuls already. He's a transfer from Washington State. I'm riding high. That's gonna be my guy. And it's just it is what it is. So right now, AP got on 12 overall. And I truly believe that they're going to make moves and be the best team coming out of the ACC. So you damn sure ain't going to be Clemson or nobody this year. So I'm just looking at that matchup. I'm looking at Miami as they continue to go on. Hopefully they bring back what the U was all about. And the second thing is, I don't know if you guys might have heard, when LSU lost to USC. They played good enough to win, so they could be still ranked. I don't have any issues with them still being ranked. But my main issue was with Brian Kelly, coach, and the way he pretty much just he dogged his team, and then he brought up himself to blame, and he lost like 3 straight season openers and everything like that. So just to talk about your team like that, saying that they weren't ready when they made penalties and things like that, you always, in my opinion, have to put yourself first, especially as a coach. I don't see Nick Saban or nobody else doing that. So I have issues with that. And also, shout out to Lincoln Riley, I'm sorry, from USC for finally freaking winning the game. Shout out to his defense actually showing up, and hopefully that continues. But the big teams destroyed. Georgia destroyed. Texas, they all did what they're supposed to do. What I would like to see different is I would like to see when the bigger schools play the state schools and things like that, the schools that they're going to crush easily. That should be almost a negative on your overall ranking instead of a positive. Yes, I know they beat some teams by 60 or whatever the case may be. Shout out to Alabama dominating their matchup post Nick Saban. But when you're playing inferior opponents, sometimes you chose that. You chose that person on your schedule. I don't like that. It's way too competitive now, and I think they should definitely change that up a little bit.
I think
Georgia beat Clemson.
Yeah, I said they destroyed Clemson.
Oh, no, I thought you were using them as they shouldn't have
played. Other teams.
Okay.
I think Ohio State beat somebody by like 60 or something.
I think they played Akron. Yeah.
My thing is, I think that college, the schedule should be consistent across the board. I think that during September, because students are just getting back into schools just starting, I think that should be the time where you play maybe your out of conference opponents, maybe some teams that really don't, aren't the big Power 5 school teams. Yeah, you can schedule maybe a smaller in-state opponent who you just want to give some shine to, because remember, some of these lower level schools, they get a lot of endorsements, they get money, they get something from playing against the big university. So
funds their whole athletic program.
Yeah, so when Maryland played Morgan, that really does a lot for Morgan. You know what I mean? Or any of the big time schools play these smaller. I don't want to take that part away from athletics. I just think when you do it is important. and I think it should be consistent. Maybe keep September. I don't want to call it preseason, but just call it like, don't schedule all your big opponents, because some teams, the Red River rivalry or something, they'll just come right out the gate with it. And then if you lose early, that's why they do it. If you lose a big time opponent early and you still got the rest of the team to recover, the season to recover, then you still have a chance to make it deep into the playoff or be consideration. So the timing of when you schedule your big time opponents, I think it shouldn't be up to the individual schools. It should be, no, your schedule doesn't get serious until October. October, like when homecoming start, all that stuff, you got to schedule SEC games, big time Power 5, USC, Texas, USC. You know what I mean? Like, no, don't be. This week I'm playing against some low level team, and you get to play against a cupcake, and I got to play against the big dog. And then that's how the rankings get skewed, because we are recency biased by nature. That's what we do. So that's how a lot of teams got left out of the playoff last year, because they scheduled a big time opponent and racked up these wins early. They stumbled once and they was like, well, they only lost to a big time team. The resume's been set at that point. If you schedule it early, everybody's on a fresh slate. By the time everybody start getting to the big opponents, it's equal across the board. I think that needs to be established.
I think we were heading that direction until that every game was important. So you maybe can't schedule certain games even early on until they expanded the playoff. I think now it doesn't matter, because even a team like LSU can still make a 12-team playoff based off the schedule they're going to play in the SEC. So if you're in one of these, big Power 4 conferences now, it's only 4 conferences, then it doesn't really matter who you play later on, because you're going to play, some teams in your conference that are going to be ranked and allow you to at least make it to your division championship title game, and then if you can make the top 12. So I think it just depends on your philosophy. It used to be Alabama would play a team week 1, then they would kind of schedule, I don't want to say a cupcake, but another school week 2 and kind of bounce back. So I mean, it just depends on how you look at it. I think this is what Georgia's doing, kind of Kirby Smart's doing, taking that ring. Like, we're going to schedule a tough game week 1, leave you with this good taste in your mouth, and all of a sudden we're going to schedule 2 lower level competition. And all of a sudden we're in the heart of a SEC schedule. So I don't think it matters now, because it's 12 teams, and I'm still unsure about how I feel about 12 teams. I think 8 was a good number. I think 12 is kind of, I don't care who the 13th ranked team is, because they shouldn't even be discussed, in my opinion. 8 seems fine, because if you're top 8, if you're 13th, that means you probably got 2-3 losses. I don't care about you having a gripe about not getting in the college football playoff.
Yeah, but the problem I have is it's not consistent. If you told me that Alabama was playing Texas and who's Alabama's top rival? Georgia out here playing Georgia State. Like, so the poll's going to indicate that you don't get no points for strength of schedule by winning that game over Georgia State, but it's still going to say you're undefeated. It's still going to say you won. And at the end of the day, people looking at, well, how do you get a TCU that doesn't get in because they went undefeated? They're going to say, well, you didn't beat nobody. Well, I only can schedule who want to schedule with me. I can't determine, like, if my division, my conference is weak, I can only play the teams that's in my conference, or I try to schedule outside of the conference, and these big-time schools don't want to go up against me because I'm a Cinderella, and I might upset them. It shouldn't be up to that. And also is on the TV contracts, because why do we get some of these big-time matchups early in the season? Because they want to have interesting matchups to air on television early in the season for the ratings. So it's like, I think it should be universal and a set thing like the NFL preseason. We don't take preseason serious, but they still do it because the teams need to get their feet wet. I think it should be the same thing for college.
There's no way for them to play an equal schedule, because even if you're playing all NCAA schools, if one team plays Arizona and one plays Arizona State, then that's two completely different football programs. Just because you play one of them doesn't mean that there are equal wins, in my opinion. It'll balance out based off your in-conference schedule. At some point, if Alabama and Georgia are good enough, they're going to play an SEC title game. So we're going to see who's the better of the two. At some point, if Ohio State and Michigan are good enough, we're going to see them play the last week of the regular season, because that's their rivalry game.
Yeah, but that works for them. What about
we're going to see Notre Dame and USC and Oregon and USC and so on and so forth. So it plays itself out in the long run, especially with the divisions being the Power Four being including teams and stripping of the divisions. There are going to be less cupcakes within that division schedule because the familiarity with the teams, because the familiarity with schools and the players. So I think it works itself out now.
But I don't think the argument is about the Georgias and the Ohio States and the Michigans. The argument is about the TCUs and these schools who don't.
They gotta play. They gotta play better competition. That's up to them. That's not look. If TCU decides to play,
it's up to who will schedule with you.
No, because TCU can go out and schedule Alabama. The problem is they have to go. The problem is they have to go to Alabama, and they don't want to do that first. That's the problem. If they say
Alabama want to play them.
If they say Alabama, if TCU wants to play Alabama or vice versa, and they say we want the first home game and them being Alabama, then that should be something you have to give in because you're not the A side of the card. So you should have to give that in if you want that matchup to strengthen your schedule. That's on them. You can't have both. You can't say I want to strengthen my schedule and I want to be the home team if you're not the A side. If you don't bring as much to the table as your opponent, you can't have that argument.
It's not that cut and dry. Go ahead, Justin.
I think a lot of things are going to kind of work itself out.
I agree with that.
And Larry, I understand what you're saying. Kind of use some of the smaller schools as a preseason in a sense, right? And then boom, we got them out the way. We gave back. The smaller schools got their financial gain from us and all those things. And now at a certain point, boom, we hit the ground running. This is the real college football.
You shouldn't be going back to cupcakes late in the season. But other people are still playing tough competition.
If it's a preseason, are you playing your starters if you know it's a preseason game and risk them getting hurt?
Strength of schedule and points still matter.
You don't think Texas or Ohio State is looking at whoever they played and say, I don't really need to play my starter, but we're still just that much better than you.
But if it's a game that does not count or it's a preseason game, are you going to even play them at all?
We're not calling it preseason.
It still counts.
It counts. But our point is you don't want to be a Georgia playing against a big-time school in week 2, and the people your contemporaries, your rivals, are playing against nobodies. And then later in the season, when everybody's playing the big games, and you schedule these cupcakes, and that just gives you an opportunity to get healthy heading into the playoffs. It just so many. I just don't like when late in the season. If you go look at some of these schedules late in the season, you'll see that some of these schools are not playing anybody. They don't even show it up on the betting lines. They be like plus 20, 2,500, man. It'd be like
okay. So Georgia's schedule is Clemson, Kentucky, Alabama, Auburn, Mississippi State, Texas, Florida, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Massachusetts, Georgia Tech.
Massachusetts and Georgia Tech should not be on that
Georgia
list.
Tech is ranked.
Right now.
Okay. They're ranked.
And that's what I was saying. That's what I was alluding to.
Okay, I skipped one too, Brian. They ain't important to
because so many teams are joining other conferences, whereas though the conferences are so deep now. Shoot, the Big Ten got 18 schools in it. Like it's not what it says it is anymore.
It's going to change now because they got the conference is so small.
Tennessee twice.
12 teams going to the playoffs. So I think it works itself out. I understand what you're saying, Larry, but I think it because the schools are so many in different conferences in a small amount of conferences. They had no other choice but to eventually play better competition with the conference.
But looking at that schedule, is that not a tough schedule? They're number one. Schedule. They played number 14 Alabama, the number 3 team in Texas, number 6 team in Ole Miss, 14 in Tennessee, 23 in Georgia Tech. Now they also have a Tennessee Tech in there next week.
But I'm just saying, at the they're in the SEC. That's an exception. We know the SEC is traditionally tough. I'm talking about because the SEC is traditionally tough. How can a team like TCU? How can a team like some of these other conferences? That's why they getting rid of these conferences.
Join the Big Ten this year. Anyway?
That's why they had to do it because it's like
you got to join up, or else you don't get the
basically had to destroy conferences because
I don't think Notre Dame should have an argument because you're not in the conference. You're not, and one, you're not in the conference, and two, you still think you're all high and mighty, and you want to pick your schedule, but you want to play an ACC schedule, but you want to include USC and you want to include Michigan, who aren't ACC schools. Like Notre Dame has the least that cannot make an argument they're left out because they handpick their schedule each and every year and don't want to be in a conference because they think it's somehow beneath them.
I thought it was in the
I hate that
ACC.
argument.
You're not in the
They
ACC?
play
No,
at
their
ACC
football is in the
they're
ACC,
independent.
but they're still playing Michigan and USC regardless of the ACC schedule. So they'll forfeit ACC games to play USC and to play Michigan.
They get an exception.
So they basically do what they want to do.
I just think it's something that needs to be looked at because they've done all this realignment and so many schools are now in the same conference. Like at some point, you're not even gonna have enough games to play everybody in the daggone conference.
So
Think about it.
I guess I see that point, but at what point? I mean, with the inclusion of is it a non-Power 4 school that gets a guaranteed bye, or they're fourth or fifth, something like that? I gotta
I'm
go back
not
and look
sure
at
about
it.
all that. Yeah,
But so you'll have a TCU or a Boise
State or
Boise State.
what
I'm
is that?
sorry, in that 4 or 5 seed. I can't think of who else it is either. You'll have them in that 4 or 5 seed, and they get a guarantee. They're automatically in. But based off their schedule, if they go out here and play 12 cupcakes and just all of a sudden win their conference, that's not equal to a Georgia who has to go through that gauntlet. If Georgia loses 2 games, I think they should be in the playoffs, depending on who the 2 games. I mean, regardless.
Well, at this point, because it's 12 teams, you can get in with 2 losses.
They still. I'm not going to say they chose to, but they're on different conferences or division within the conference of Alabama.
Division. Yeah.
So they I don't know if they chose to play Alabama or was that they're going to play them every couple of years or so, however so often it is. But they have them on the schedule. They have Ole Miss. They still have tough teams because the SEC is so tough. So if it's 8 SEC teams because they all have 2 losses and they all lost to each other, I can't be upset.
I'd much rather be in the Pac-10 and call it.
There is no Pac-10.
That's my point. I would have rather stayed in the Pac-10 than did all this realignment. And because if I win my division or my conference, I have a guaranteed slot. Like now it's like so consolidated.
But you can't stay in the Pac-10 if Oregon and USC leaves.
But I'm talking about from Oregon or USC. That's my point. Like, why would you leave? That's stupid.
Money.
Of course, it's money. That's the problem. Anyway, they had a whole West Coast. They who was that competition? They got the late games every week. They were on national television.
The late games.
I'm just saying, why? What the TV money is what funds these leagues. Let's call it what it is. Like, think about it. Everything come down to TV money. Like ESPN. Look at the NBA. Look at the NFL sports packages. All of this money come from whatever they're going to get from the TV money. And you're telling me these late games, you turn on ESPN 12 o'clock on a Saturday night, you're going to see USC, Oregon, Arizona State. But why would you destroy the conference is what I'm saying. Like, that makes no sense. And essentially, you're in prime time on the West Coast. Like, it makes no sense.
But this is my thing. If you're Oregon and USC and you're the big dog and they're going to offer you double what your local Pac-12 network cable package or deal is paying you, it makes sense for you to leave. And then you got to bring the little dogs with you because they can't stay. If they stay, they can't compete for a national title. If they go, they can't compete because of the conference that they're in. So, do I take the money and go and just not compete, or do I stay here, win the Independence Bowl, and then all of a sudden I'm not getting in because of my strength schedule, or because of who I play, who I didn't play.
You have boosters that can get you the players that you need to get to compete with said teams. That's why you do it. You do both. If you just stay home and be the big dog in a small pond, you're not getting the over. You're losing millions.
It never was a small pond. This USC, Oregon, we talking about UCLA. They ain't no small peanuts.
Is UCLA in the Big Ten too? No,
I don't know where they moved to.
I think they all in the big. I know Oregon is. I think USC and USC might be in SEC actually.
Jesus Christ. Let's move on because Anyway, we'll keep a track on this Heisman watch as the season goes on as well. So interesting stuff. Let's talk about some Orioles. Very interesting couple weeks. We have not checked in with the Orioles in a while here. So I really need to toss it to you all because as much as I vowed to say that I'm going to try to do my very best to keep up with the Orioles this season, I have failed. tremendously. I'm not even going to hold you. I wanted to really keep up, but it's just not working out. Calvin, tell me. No, let me start with you, Justin. I apologize. I don't know why you're not on the screen at this time, but what's going on with the Baltimore Orioles right now?
Not too much. Well, like I said, last 10 games we about 6-4. We've been hovering around. We've been a 500 team basically since June. But with that being said, we're not too far away from the Yankees. We're less than a game away from them. And, the schedule is what the schedule is. Sometimes the schedule gives you some layups along the way. And right now we've been playing against Chicago, the White Sox, which is, absolutely god-awful this year. God-awful this year. So, we beat them up the last 2 games, if I'm not mistaken. Or we destroyed them today. What was it, 13-0 or something? So it's just it's right at a particular great time for them to play a cupcake team like that, just so we can make up some ground against the Yankees and try to take the AL East title. So it's not all doom and gloom. Some of our pitchers been playing very well. Eflin has been doing this thing. It's just I wish Corbin plays a little bit better. He had a good showing not so long ago, but he had a rocky stretch about a week and a half ago. Hopefully that's behind him, and it's just gonna move forward. I recently went to a game in which they lost to Houston. I wasn't necessarily particularly happy with that, but we won that series, so
okay,
it was all good. So we're gearing ourselves for the playoff run that's about to come. It's probably about 20 games left in the season, so just trying to buckle down a little bit.
It's about a half game out, you said?
Yes.
Yeah. No, I think they have a game up. I thought.
Okay.
It might be.
I thought the Yankees didn't play tonight.
Close. Yeah, especially if the Yankees lost tonight.
I didn't think they played tonight.
But go on. What's your thoughts, Calvin?
I think as bad as they've been playing, as much as we've talked about them, I think they have the most wins in the American League as of tonight. They're one of 2 teams with 80+ wins. I think the other one is the Yankees.
Yep. So half game up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the other one's the Yankees. I mean, if everyone can come back healthy, that's on the IR. Grayson, Dean Kramer, Westberg, Urias is on the IR now. If we can get all those guys back, they can make a run. The bullpen, the back end of the bullpen is still a huge question. I don't know what to expect day to day, game to game from them. They tried to trade for their new close. Though they did trade for a new closer, and it's Sir Anthony Dominguez, I believe is his name. They still have Kimbrel, who's kind of just in flux. He pitched tonight, but he pitched tonight. It wasn't anything at stake. They were up 9-0. I think it was 9-0, and he pitched. So I just don't know what to expect from the back end of the bullpen. But if you can get Colon back, you get Grayson back, you get Dean Kramer back, and you just strengthen that bullpen, and I think they have as good of a chance as anyone else. There's no one running away with the AL at this point. They're all jockeying for position. They're all jockeying for
no one with the league, period.
True. I mean, I think the Dodgers are starting to get hot. So I think in the NL, they won't run away with it. But they've done that before, not won a World Series. So you take that for what it's worth as well. But if they can get healthy and the pitch staff gets healthy, Burns kind of going through a tough time. But when you have your relievers back, when you have a full staff back, and when you're actually hitting better, the last 2 games, the bats are starting to wake up, especially some of the young guys. You saw Kobe Mayo with a triple, I believe that was on Sunday, matter of fact. The bats are starting to wake up. If you can get that consistent bat back, you get some runs. You could put up 6-7 runs, give that pitcher staff some room. Sky's we'll see what they could do, but they still have a chance. It's just a matter of getting healthy. And then, next year's even scary when you get Bautista back, which depending on what you do with Burns as well. But they still have a chance this year. And this year isn't over with. Just get healthy, get to the playoffs, and make a run.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. I'm intrigued. I'm very intrigued. I will, man. I will. I promise. Let's talk about this next topic because let's get into some basketball a little bit. Very interesting comments back and forth with Sheryl Swoopes, WNBA legend. Really have hit the headlines here lately. A few months ago, she had some interesting comments about Caitlin Clark, kind of saying that she broke the scoring record in college because she was able to get an extra year of eligibility due to COVID-19. Well, that was found to be incorrect. And Nancy Lieberman, also a WNBA legend, reached out to her via telephone to tell her that she was incorrect in her assertion. And apparently Cheryl didn't like the conversation. And in an interview with Stephen A. Smith earlier this week, Lieberman let Stephen A. know that Cheryl was upset with her because she felt like, she was taking up for Caitlin Clark, and those two have not had a good friendship since then. And after the interview, Cheryl Swoops commented, "Yeah, my life I ain't missed a beat basically without her friendship." And she shared a text message, a thread between her and Caitlin, where she apologized to Caitlin Clark privately for misrepresenting the fact that she broke the scoring record without due to an extra year of eligibility. And that was a way to prove that she's not a hater and that she reached out to Caitlin personally. But apparently she kind of has been omitting speaking about Caitlin in any positive way, which people have run with and made this into a bigger story. But I think it kind of speaks to some of the women or even the legends. And we saw Rebecca Lobo. We've seen different commentators speak on the fact that they didn't like that this Caitlin Clark phenomenon, not necessarily her herself, but people who have commented on Caitlin Clark and had things to say have kind of made her be bigger than the WNBA or presented her as some type of great white hope, and they resented that. Very interesting commentary. Stephen A. Smith had some comments that were really got a lot of people pissed off. Overall, what are your thoughts on this whole ordeal? Any other information you could add as background as well? Let's start with you, Justin.
Real quick, Nancy really didn't play in the WNBA. She's just a college and overseas legend in her own right. So she definitely has some ground to say, but she was like 35, 37 once the league started. So it was already kind of past. She did play though in it. But with that being said, it goes to the fact that you have to acknowledge Caitlin Clark as the success of anything in the league right now. And unfortunately, that's a fact because the league is in a different situation. It's in a different spot. It's a different center of attention, and it is because of her. And if you just let that go and understand that that's just a constant fact, then you can move on and have no issues. Cheryl Swoops recently had an issue, and she talked about in her analysis of the Fever, and she's a great, she's a Hall of Famer, multiple gold medals, won a championship in college, won a couple championships next to Cynthia Cooper, and she got an MVP as well in the league. So she has credence more than most players, both male and female, to talk about the game of basketball. But you can't talk about the Indiana Fever and not mention Caitlin Clark. What is wrong with you? You don't do that. So shout out the fact that yes, Aaliyah Boston is balling. Kelsey Mitchell is balling. Like they have talent. We're not saying that they don't, but we're not going to act like they were trash last year because they were trash last year. There's only one person that came to the team and made a difference. It's because of Caitlin Clark. She's not averaging damn near 25 and 10 assists over the last few games for nothing. She is doing that. She didn't just go against the Chicago Sky and completely wax them, Yeah. And shout out to Angel Reese, but we've seen the struggles that Angel Reese is having, although she can get a double-double. It's over. The Rookie of the Year race is over. Caitlin Clark is in the MVP nominations now. Like you can't mention a team without mentioning the MVP. Who would do that for any other sport, especially for basketball? Calvin, don't you shake your head?
How will you mention an MVP race if you're number 2? Like it's not close.
It's not a race.
It's not close.
I'm just saying it's not a race. I'm just saying that was one of the things she had to go through. She had to prove that she was rookie of the year.
But it's not close though. Like
it
I
was
understand
close for a period.
It was never close.
When Angel Reese went off early,
I'm talking about MVP. I'm talking about MVP.
Oh, MVP. Well, because I mean, you have to have some type of top 5. Caitlin Clark's in the top 5.
It's not a race.
But I'm saying it's not. Okay, so there is no chance that she wins MVP.
List of candidates. She's a candidate, not
so is everyone else in the league.
Yes, we all know Angel Wilson is winning it, no doubt.
That's my point. It's not a competition.
All right, well, let's not focus on that. Let's talk about
You're right.
The hate, it just spews out of you, man. You are a true hater.
You made it come like it's close. Like
I never said it was close.
You said she's in contention. You said she's in contention.
With that being said, there's a reason why she should be mentioned. Yes. So Sheryl Swoopes, if you did not mention her and you know all the stuff about basketball, then you omitted her. Was that a slip of the tongue? I don't know. And then you leaked the DMs that y'all had between each other. I don't know whether it was leaked or
DM with her and Nancy Lieberman or the DM
no, that was DM with her and Caitlin Clark.
Caitlin Clark, Sheryl Swoopes and Caitlin Clark, saying that she apologized, whatever the case may be. But I don't. If they say leaked, it wasn't leaked. I don't know 100% was it leaked or not. But it's
she posted them.
Yes, I know she posted them, but that don't mean that it was like leaked. Is like kind of like, oh, I didn't know you was doing it. Like Caitlin Clark, does she know that she was doing it? That kind of a thing.
Well,
But with that being said, it's just all a bad look, and she has multiple times went to the negative side of Caitlin Clark, and it's just not necessary at this point. It's just get out the way. It's a train coming through, and the initials is CC, so just get out the way.
So are you more upset that Sheryl Swoopes didn't have the same energy as when she talked about Caitlin Clark versus when she apologized, or talked to Caitlin Clark via the DM, via her Twitter DMs?
She's not maintaining that energy. Like, yes, we can be all critical. Yes, a lot of people is very critical of Caitlin Clark with given reason because she hasn't proved anything yet. I get it. We most people really truly understand that part of it. It's just when she started to prove herself. Post Olympics and all this other stuff. So recent basketball, they've been playing for a little bit now after the Olympics. It's like, yo, she took that break when she said that she needed a break. That's why she wasn't tripping about the Olympics. She said, I need a break because I've been playing for damn near a year straight. She took that break and she's actually been balling lately to the point where as though they might not make it to the top 4, but they definitely like 5. They right outside the top 4. That's almost home court advantage. And they came from 7th, 8th, 9th, and they was in that round. So Caitlin Clark does have her finger all over the Indiana Fever, and they've been playing very, very good basketball as of late. So, but like I said, it is what it is. Just get out the way of the train, babe.
Calvin, you have no thoughts?
No, I don't disagree with anything Justin said, except the MVP conversation. But when we talked about this in the chat early on, I didn't understand. I knew about the Sheryl Swoopes and Nancy Lieberman situation, or how they pulled Sheryl Swoopes from her game because of, I guess, comments that she made about Caitlin Clark and how she hasn't been willing to backtrack, or how she hasn't been willing to acknowledge what Caitlin Clark has done. I didn't understand the point in Stephen A. talking about on his podcast and how it got brought up again with added fuel to the fire. That was the aspect I didn't understand. But I mean, I don't understand. There have been, I don't know if it seemed like me it was more personal, or maybe because of some of the attention that she was getting, not really sure. But if Caitlin Clark didn't have an issue with it and she had moved on, then I don't understand what was the need for everyone to have Sheryl do this publicly outside of keeping that same energy, which is cool. But I didn't understand what the point was with going back and forth with Stephen A. and how Nancy Lieberman got thrown into there. But otherwise, besides making comments that she put words in Sheryl Swoopes' mouth. But I guess in my opinion, it seemed like it was a way for Sheryl Swoopes to remain relevant by just keeping this continuously going. Because it got to a point where it's like, okay, you were wrong. What are we still talking about you being wrong? Does everyone want you to acknowledge being right, and then you kind of spin it in another direction? And that's what kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Like, what's the point of this? It seemed like she was kind of keeping this story in the spotlight at a point. And I know she maybe didn't have complete control over not calling that game a couple of days ago. Maybe that was the network or the sponsors pulling her.
That was the lift point. That was the igniter to the situation, right? It was already.
But was it her call though? That's my question.
I mean, if the powers that be says, all right,
is it known?
You pretty much gotta do apology, whatever like that, based off what you've been saying recently, and you don't because you're standing on whatever it is you want to stand on.
Well,
and then
do I agree with apologize for your opinion? What is she apologizing for?
If she was wrong, she was wrong. Whatever the case may be.
Well, I agree with that.
I think the original comments of what she was wrong on. She was wrong on saying that the only reason why Caitlin Clark broke the scoring record.
She apologized for that. I thought she apologized for that.
She apologized
directly to her. Correct. Yeah. But I thought it wasn't done publicly. I guess it was done through a DM like 3-4 months ago or something like that.
You had to do it publicly.
Yeah, and Nancy tried to, as a friend, reach out to her and tell her, "Hey, you got the wrong information. You might want to issue a correction on that." And Cheryl combatively said she wasn't doing it, so she reached out privately instead of doing it publicly, which is why Stephen A. and them called her on the journalistic part of like you in broadcasting now. You supposed to be a journalist. If you've been proven to be you promoting wrong information, you're supposed to step up and say, "Okay, I made a mistake," and just move on with it. But it blew up and became something bigger than it needed to be because Caitlin Clark's involved. So, of course, Fox News, people commenting, all kinds of people that trying to – and I feel bad for Caitlin, to be honest with you. And I know it sounds bad to say you feel bad for Caitlin. Like she's no victim here. But none of this comes from her. She's not out here trying to promote herself. This is hoopla that's get created all around her. And all she's doing out there is playing basketball, man. This is crazy, man. I just think the whole phenomenon, if she was one of these people beating their chest and out here like talking smack and bringing that welcoming it in, that'd be one thing. But she just keep humble and keep doing her thing. So I can't hate on her. I'm sorry. Interesting stuff. But we've run late tonight, like we are prone to do. It is football season, so we haven't got to all the topics. We'll add that to next week. But it's been a great show, getting on 11:30 Eastern here. But I'm not going to ask for any final thoughts because no need to continue talking. This has been a fun one. We appreciate you. We will be enjoying football this weekend. Great slate of NFL action. Thursday, Friday, college football on Saturday, and NFL on Sunday and Monday. And we'll be back here next Tuesday night. So what a full week we got. So we thank you all for tuning in. Be sure to share the podcast, share the information on YouTube, Facebook. Let's get the name out here. Get off the damn fence. Make sure as many people as possible can check out the show. And we'll be back next week to give our review and our feedback from week 1 in the NFL. For Calvin, Justin, I'm Larry. Thanks for tuning in. Get off the damn fence. We'll see you next week right here.